Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and felt completely safe? It's something we take for granted, isn't it? But what if I told you that just a few centuries ago, the world plunged into an almost absolute darkness the moment the sun went down? Our story today isn't just about a piece of metal with a bulb on top. It's about how humanity conquered the night. This is the story of the street lamp, and how it completely transformed our cities and our lives. Before streetlights, the night was a different world. Imagine a city like London or Paris, not bathed in a warm, electric glow, but cloaked in a deep, profound darkness. For most people, life was dictated by the sun. When it set, the world shrank to the size of your home, lit only by the flickering flame of a candle or the warm glow of a hearth. To venture outside was to step into an unknown realm. The primary source of light in the night sky was, of course, the moon. On a clear night with a full moon, the world was cast in a silvery, ethereal light. Main roads and open squares might be just visible enough to navigate. People planned their evening activities around the lunar cycle. A social gathering, a trip to a neighboring village, or any essential night travel was often scheduled for a moonlit night. But what about the other nights? When the moon was a sliver or hidden behind thick clouds, the darkness was absolute, almost a physical presence. It was a blackness so complete you could feel it on your skin. In this deep dark, your ears became your eyes. Every rustle in the bushes, every distant shout, every creaking floorboard from a nearby house was magnified. The night was filled with sounds, some familiar, some unnerving. The world felt both smaller and infinitely larger. Your immediate surroundings were a tiny bubble of sensory information, while everything beyond was a vast, mysterious void. It was a time when folklore and ghost stories felt incredibly real. Who knew what lurked just beyond the reach of your vision? For those who had to be out, the only option was to carry their own light. Wealthier citizens might have a servant walk ahead of them, holding a flickering torch or a lantern. These early lanterns were simple, often just a candle shielded from the wind by panes of glass or thinly sliced animal horn. They cast a small dancing circle of light, pushing back the darkness just a few feet. It was a personal, fragile bubble of safety in an overwhelming sea of black. For the less fortunate, navigating the night was even more perilous, relying on memory and a good dose of courage. The streets themselves were treacherous. Without light, every step was a gamble. You could stumble into an open sewer, trip over discarded rubbish, or twist an ankle in a pothole you couldn't see. Getting lost was incredibly easy. Familiar daytime landmarks vanished, and winding alleyways became terrifying mazes. The cry of the link boy, often a child for hire, would echo through the streets, offering to guide people home with a flaming torch for a small fee. But even this came with risks. Not all link boys were honest, and some would lead their clients into a dark alley to be robbed. This brings us to the biggest fear of the pre-lit city: crime. Darkness was the criminal's greatest ally. Thieves, muggers, and highwaymen used the cover of night to prey on unsuspecting travelers. The city watch, the precursor to our modern police, was often small, poorly equipped, and patrolling in near total darkness themselves. Their rattles and calls of "all's well" were more for reassurance than a genuine deterrent. For most people, the unwritten rule was simple. Once the sun goes down, you lock your doors and you do not go out. The night belonged to the shadows and to whatever or whoever hid within them. This wasn't just a matter of convenience. It shaped society. Commerce ground to a halt at dusk. Social life was confined to the home. The rhythm of the city was a simple one: work by day, rest by night. The very concept of nightlife, as we know, it simply didn't exist. The night was a time of inactivity, of fear, and of mystery. It was a barrier, a hard stop to the day's potential. This was the world waiting for a revolution. A world where the simple act of creating light in a public space could change everything. People were tired of being ruled by the sunset. They yearned for safety, for community, for the freedom to use the other half of their day. The stage was set for a radical idea. What if we could light up the entire city? The first attempts would be humble, smoky, and dim, but they would spark a transformation that continues to this day. So, How did we go from cowering in the dark to the 24-hour cities we know today? Our journey begins with a simple revolutionary idea: lighting the streets with oil. This was the first major battle in the war against the night. The first flickering flames of public street lighting were about to be lit, and they would do more than just push back the darkness. They would ignite a new era of urban life, safety, and human connection. Stay with us as we step out of the shadows and into the age of the oil lamp. Thank you so much for joining me on this first part of our journey. It really makes you appreciate the lights we have today, doesn't it? If you're finding this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter, where we'll see how gaslight truly set the world ablaze. See you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and felt perfectly safe? It's something we take completely for granted. But what if I told you that for most of human history, the night was a dark, dangerous, and mysterious realm? Our story today is about the humble street lamp, and how this simple invention didn't just light up our nights, it completely remade our cities and our lives. We'll journey from flickering oil flames to the brilliant electric glow we know today. So, let's turn back the clock. Picture a city like London or Paris in the 17th or 18th century. Once the sun goes down, the city plunges into almost total darkness. The only light comes from the moon, the stars, and maybe a few candles flickering in windows. The streets are treacherous, filled with unseen obstacles, and they become a haven for criminals. If you were wealthy, you might hire a link boy, a child carrying a flaming torch, to guide you home. For everyone else, venturing out after dark was a risky proposition. The night belonged to fear. But humanity is ingenious. We've always sought to conquer the darkness. The first real attempt at organized public lighting wasn't electric or even gas, it was oil. This was the dawn of the street lamp era. The earliest public lamps were simple, really. Think of a metal bracket holding a glass globe. Inside, a wick sat in a reservoir of oil, producing a small, flickering flame. It wasn't much, but it was a start. It was a tiny pinprick of light pushing back against an ocean of darkness. What kind of oil were they using? Well, it depended on where you were and what was available. In many coastal towns, especially in America, the fuel of choice was whale oil. Yes, you heard that right. Right. The booming whaling industry of the 18th and 19th centuries wasn't just about making corsets. It was about lighting the world. Whale oil burned relatively cleanly and brightly for its time. An entire industry, full of dangerous sea voyages and incredible risk, existed just to keep these small flames burning in cities thousands of miles away. It's wild to think that the safety of a city street was directly connected to a successful whale hunt in the middle of the ocean. But whale oil was expensive, and as you can imagine, not exactly sustainable. So in other parts of the world, people got creative. They used various vegetable oils. Olive oil was common around the Mediterranean. In other places, they used rapeseed oil or colza oil. Each had its own properties. Some smelled worse than others, some produced more soot, and some just didn't burn as brightly. Maintaining these lamps was a full-time job. Every single evening, a lamplighter had to go around with a ladder and a torch. He'd have to trim the wicks, refill the oil, and light each lamp one by one. Then in the morning, he'd have to go back and extinguish them all to conserve fuel. These lamplighters became iconic figures in the city. They were the bringers of light, the keepers of the flame. Their nightly procession was a ritual that marked the transition from day to night. For the first time, major city squares and key boulevards began to have a reliable, if dim, source of light. It was a revolution in slow motion. People started to reclaim the night. Small businesses could stay open a little later. People felt safer walking home. The very rhythm of city life began to change. Of course, these oil lamps were far from perfect. The light was weak and flickered in the wind. They cast long, dancing shadows that could be just as unnerving as the total darkness they replaced. They were dirty, smelly, and a constant fire hazard. Imagine hundreds, even thousands of open flames scattered throughout a city built mostly of wood. The risk was enormous. But despite these flaws, the oil lamp was a monumental step forward. It was proof of a concept that cities didn't have to surrender to the night. This simple flame, fueled by whales and plants, laid the foundation for everything that came next. It sparked the ambition for a brighter, safer, and more vibrant urban nightlife. The flickering glow of the oil lamp was the first chapter in our quest to illuminate the world, a quest that would soon lead to the hiss of gaslight and the brilliant, steady shine of electricity. But it all started here, with a simple wick in a globe of oil. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this illuminating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the hidden history of the world around us. See you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and wondered how we banished the darkness? It's a story not just of technology, but of people, of community, and of a forgotten profession that once held the night at bay. Before the flip of a switch, before the hum of electricity, the coming of nightfall was a signal for a special kind of person to begin their work. This is the story of the lamplighters. For centuries, cities were plunged into near-total darkness after sunset. The night was a realm of uncertainty and fear. Travel was treacherous, crime was rampant, and social life simply stopped. A moonless night meant you were either home or taking a serious risk. This deep, primal fear of the dark wasn't just in our imaginations, it was a daily reality for our ancestors. But humanity, ever ingenious, refused to surrender the night. The first attempts to light public spaces were humble, often just a lure, requiring homeowners to hang a lantern outside their door. But a more organized solution was needed. The age of oil lamps brought the first true revolution to city streets. From the 17th century onwards, cities like Paris and London began installing public oil lamps. These early devices were simple, consisting of a vessel for whale oil or vegetable oil and a wick. They cast a flickering, gentle glow, a stark contrast to the harsh, uniform light of today. Their light was soft, alive, and it created pools of safety in the overwhelming darkness. But these lamps didn't light themselves. This new technology gave rise to a new and vital profession, the lamplighter. Imagine the scene as dusk settled over the city. A figure appears, walking with a steady, familiar rhythm. This is the lamplighter. Clad in a distinct uniform, often carrying a long pole and a ladder, they were a reassuring presence in every neighborhood. Their job was a ritual. With their pole, which might have a wick and flame at the end, or a hook to pull down the lamp, they would go from post to post, one by one, bringing light to the darkening streets. The lamplighter's round was a performance of sorts, a daily ballet repeated across the city. They had to be meticulous. Each lamp needed its wick trimmed to just the right length to prevent smoke and ensure a bright flame. The glass needed to be polished clean of soot and grime from the previous night. And, of course, the oil reservoirs had to be refilled. It was a physically demanding job, involving endless walking, climbing, and carrying supplies through all kinds of weather, rain, snow, or biting wind. But it was more than just a manual job. The lamplighters were the keepers of the night. They were often the first to notice if something was amiss on their route, a disturbance, a fire, someone in distress. They became trusted figures, the unofficial guardians of their communities. Children would watch in awe as they made their rounds, and adults would greet them with a respectful nod. Their rhythmic journey through the streets was a comforting signal that the city was being cared for, that someone was watching over them as they slept. They knew the city's secrets, its quiet corners, and its late-night wanderers. Then came the 19th century and a brilliant, dazzling innovation: gaslight. Gas lamps were brighter, more reliable, and burned longer than their oily predecessors. Cities underwent another transformation, their streets bathed in a powerful, steady glow that turned night into a new frontier for social life. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could now stay open late, creating a vibrant nightlife that we now take for granted. But this new technology didn't immediately make the lamplighter obsolete. In fact, for a time, their role became even more important. Lighting a gas lamp was a different process. The lamplighter's pole now had a special hook to turn the gas valve and a small, often enclosed flame at the tip to ignite the gas flowing through the mantle. The pop of a gas lamp igniting became a familiar evening sound. The network of gas pipes running beneath the city was a modern marvel, and the lamplighters were the human interface for this vast system. They still had to clean the glass and maintain the delicate mantles, but their primary role was orchestrating this nightly symphony of light. They were still the masters of the twilight hours, their presence a bridge between the old world and the new. But progress is relentless. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a new power was poised to conquer the night: electricity. The invention of the incandescent light bulb by figures like Thomas Edison heralded the final chapter for the traditional lamplighter. Electric streetlights were revolutionary. They were immensely powerful, required far less maintenance, and most importantly, could be controlled remotely from a central station. With the flick of a single switch, an entire city could be illuminated in an instant. The gentle manual ritual of lighting lamps one by one was replaced by the silent, instantaneous power of the grid. The lamplighter's ladder and pole could not compete with the efficiency of the electron. Slowly but surely, the profession began to fade away. The familiar figures who walked the streets at dusk were no longer needed. Their rounds became shorter, their numbers dwindled, until one day, the last lamplighter extinguished their torch for the final time. The job that had defined city nights for generations became a memory, a story told in books and captured in old photographs. Today, the lamplighter is a figure of nostalgia, a symbol of a slower, more hands-on era. Yet, their legacy is all around us. Every time we walk safely down a well-lit street, we are enjoying the fruits of their labor. They were the pioneers who first pushed back the darkness, who made our cities safer, more social, and more alive after sunset. They remind us that behind every great technological leap, there are human stories of skill, dedication, and service. So next time you're out at night, take a moment to look at a streetlight. Don't just see it as a piece of technology. See it as the final evolution of a long story that began with a simple oil lamp and a dedicated person with a ladder and a light. The lamplighters may be gone, but their spirit, the simple, human desire to bring light into the darkness, burns on in every single lamp that lines our streets. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the hidden histories that shape our world. Have you ever walked down a beautifully lit street at night and felt completely safe? Well, it wasn't always this way. For centuries, city nights were wrapped in a thick blanket of darkness, a world of shadows where danger could lurk around any corner. People relied on flickering oil lamps, clumsy torches, or the faint glow of the moon. It was a time when the night belonged to the unknown. But then, everything started to change with a soft, gentle hiss. Picture this: London, the early 1800s. A German inventor named Frederick Windsor has a revolutionary idea. What if you could pipe a flammable gas directly into lamps all across the city? It sounded like something out of a fantasy novel. People were skeptical, even scared. They called him a madman, worried that these pipes would explode, or that the light itself was some kind of dark magic. When he first demonstrated it by lighting up Pall Mall in 1807, crowds gathered, half expecting a disaster. But instead of an explosion, they saw a steady, brilliant glow that bathed the street in a light 10 times brighter than any oil lamp. It was like witnessing the dawn in the middle of the night. The age of gaslight had begun. This wasn't just about making things brighter. It was about taming the night itself. Before gaslight, cities were a maze of isolated flickering lights. If you were wealthy, you might hire a link boy to carry a torch for you. If not, you stumbled through the dark, hoping for the best. Gaslight changed the game completely. It was a centralized system. A single gasworks could produce enough gas to illuminate thousands of lamps across miles of city streets. Imagine the monumental task: workers digging trenches, laying miles upon miles of iron pipes beneath the cobblestones, connecting every street, every square, every alleyway to this new network of light. It was the internet of its time, a web of energy spreading beneath the city's surface. The effect on city life was immediate and profound. Suddenly, people felt safer. Crime rates in well-lit areas started to drop. The night watch, who were often ineffective, were gradually replaced by more organized police forces who could now patrol illuminated streets. Before, the night was a barrier, separating people and shutting down social life. Now it became an opportunity. Theaters, shops, and restaurants could stay open after dark, creating a vibrant nightlife that had never existed before. People started going for evening strolls, not out of necessity, but for pleasure. Of course, it wasn't perfect. The light had a distinctive, sometimes eerie, yellow-green hue. It produced a noticeable smell and a lot of soot which would blacken buildings over time. And there was a new profession, the lamplighter. Every evening at dusk, these men would walk their routes, using a long pole with a flame at the end to ignite each lamp one by one. And every morning at dawn, they would return to extinguish them. It was a ritual that became a beloved part of the urban landscape. The lamplighter was a familiar, comforting figure, the person who literally brought light to the darkness each day. Their rhythmic journey through the streets was a symbol of the city's heartbeat. The rise of gaslight wasn't just a London story. The innovation spread like wildfire. Paris, the city of light, earned its nickname by enthusiastically embracing gas illumination. Baltimore became the first American city to light its streets with gas in 1816. Soon, cities all over the world were racing to install their own gaslight systems. It became a mark of modernity and progress. A city with gaslight was a city of the future, a place of commerce, culture, and safety. It physically reshaped the urban environment, dictating where new neighborhoods were built and how people moved through them. The soft hiss of the gas lamp became the soundtrack of the 19th century city. It illuminated the works of authors like Charles Dickens, who captured both the wonder and the grimy reality of this new industrial world. It lit the way for horse-drawn carriages clattering over cobblestones and cast long shadows that danced in foggy alleyways. This wasn't just a technological advancement. It was a cultural revolution. It changed our relationship with the night, transforming it from a time of fear into a time of possibility and wonder. For nearly a century, gaslight reigned supreme, a warm, steady beacon in the industrial age. But another revolution was just around the corner. One that would be even brighter and more transformative, the electric light. The quiet hiss of gas was about to be replaced by the silent, brilliant glow of the electric bulb, and the world would never be the same again. Thank you so much for watching this journey through the gaslit streets of the past. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter in the story of light. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and felt that sense of security? It's something we often take for granted, but the simple street lamp has a dramatic and fascinating story. Before its invention, the night was a realm of deep, impenetrable darkness, a place where fear and danger lurked in every shadow. Imagine cities where, once the sun went down, life came to a standstill. The simple act of going out was a risky venture. How did we go from that world of darkness to the vibrant, 24/7 cities we know today? It's a story of innovation, societal change, and our timeless quest for safety. Today, we're going to journey back in time and uncover how oil, gas, and electricity didn't just light up our streets. They fundamentally remade our world, transforming the night from a time of peril into a time of possibility. Let's start in a world without streetlights. Picture London or Paris in the 17th century. Once darkness fell, the city was plunged into an almost total blackness. Wealthy citizens might hire a link boy, a child carrying a flaming torch, to light their way for a few coins. But for most people, the night was a no-go zone. The unlit streets were a perfect cover for criminals. Muggings, robberies, and assaults were rampant. Navigating the city was treacherous. You could easily trip on uneven cobblestones, fall into an open sewer, or stumble into a ditch. The night was ruled by chaos and fear. The only public lighting came from the occasional candle placed in a window by a civic-minded resident, or laws that required homeowners to hang a lantern outside their door. But these were faint, flickering, and unreliable. This was the dark reality that sparked a revolution in urban living. The problem was clear. To make cities livable, They had to be made safe, and to be made safe, they first had to be lit. The first major breakthrough came with oil lamps. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, cities began to experiment with organized street lighting. Paris led the way, installing thousands of oil-fueled lanterns. These early lamps were simple, a vessel filled with whale oil or vegetable oil, and a wick. They were a massive improvement over darkness, casting pools of light that made streets navigable and deterred some criminal activity. But they were far from perfect. The light was dim and smoky, and the lamps required an army of workers, the lamplighters, to manage them. Every evening these lamplighters would traverse the city with their ladders and torches, lighting each lamp one by one. And every morning, they'd have to return to extinguish them and perform maintenance, like trimming the wicks and refilling the oil. It was a laborious and expensive process. Yet, despite these challenges, the effect was profound. For the first time, city dwellers could venture out after dark with a degree of confidence. The glow of safety, though faint, had been ignited. The next great leap forward arrived with gaslight in the early 19th century. This was a true game changer. Gas lighting, produced by heating coal, was significantly brighter, more consistent, and more efficient than oil. London became the first city to widely adopt this new technology, with Pall Mall being the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gas in 1807. The effect was astonishing. People were mesmerized by the brilliant, steady glow. The new lights transformed the urban landscape. Streets that were once forbidding became inviting. The brighter light acted as a powerful deterrent to crime. Police reports from the era noted a significant drop in street robberies and burglaries in areas with gas lighting. It was like having a constant, unblinking watchman on every corner. The gaslight also revolutionized transportation. Carriage drivers could now navigate busy streets at night with much greater ease, reducing the risk of collisions. The network of pipes that delivered the gas to the lamps was an engineering marvel, a hidden circulatory system that pumped light and life into the city's arteries after dark. With the arrival of widespread gaslight, a new kind of urban life began to blossom. The night was no longer just for sleeping or for those with ill intent. It became a time for leisure and commerce. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open later, confident that their patrons could travel home safely. Evening strolls became a fashionable pastime. The city at night took on a new, magical character. It was a spectacle, a place of social gathering and entertainment. The bright illumination extended the day, effectively creating more time for economic and social activity. This had a huge impact on the economy. A city that functions after dark is a city that is more productive and prosperous. The gas lamp didn't just push back the darkness. It pushed back the limitations on urban life. It helped create the vibrant, bustling, 24-hour metropolises we recognize today. The glow of safety was now also the glow of opportunity and progress. Then came the age of electricity, and with it the electric arc lamp and later, the incandescent bulb. In the late 1870s and 1880s, electric street lighting began to appear. The first arc lamps were incredibly powerful, casting a brilliant, almost harsh white light. They were often used to illuminate large public squares and major thoroughfares, turning night into day. Wabash, Indiana, became the first city in the world to be fully lit by electricity in 1880, a historic moment that demonstrated the incredible potential of this new power. Thomas Edison's invention of a practical, long-lasting incandescent light bulb made electric lighting more accessible and adaptable. Electric lights were cleaner than gas, no smoke, no soot, and safer, with no open flames or risk of gas leaks. They were also far easier to control. An entire city system could be switched on or off from a central station with the flick of a switch. The era of the lamplighter with his ladder was officially over. The superiority of electric light was undeniable. It was brighter, more reliable, and ultimately more cost-effective than gas. Cities across the world rapidly began converting their street lighting systems to electricity. This transition further enhanced public safety. Modern policing and electric street lights grew up together. Well-lit streets made police patrols more effective and made it harder for criminals to hide. Studies then, and even now, consistently show a correlation between improved street lighting and reduced crime rates. Better lighting also drastically improved traffic safety, especially with the rise of the automobile in the 20th century. Clear visibility reduced accidents, making roads safer for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike. The electric street lamp became an essential piece of urban infrastructure, as critical as clean water or sewer systems. It was the silent guardian of the modern city. Today, street lighting technology continues to evolve. We're now in the era of LED lights, which are even more energy efficient and long-lasting. But beyond just efficiency, we're entering the age of smart street lighting. These new systems can do so much more than just provide light. They can be equipped with sensors that detect motion, adjusting brightness based on whether people are present, saving energy while maintaining safety. They can monitor air quality, measure traffic flow, and even provide public Wi-Fi access. The humble street lamp is transforming into a multifunctional hub for the smart city of the future. It is a testament to how this simple idea, placing a light on a post, continues to adapt and serve our ever-changing urban needs. From a simple flame to a smart sensor, the street lamp has always been about more than just light. It's about creating safer, smarter, and more livable communities. So, the next time you're out at night, take a moment to look up at the street lamps casting their steady glow. Remember the world of darkness they banished. Think of the link boys with their torches, the lamplighters with their ladders, and the gaslit avenues that first dazzled the world. These lights are more than just fixtures. They are monuments to our ingenuity and our enduring desire for safety and community. They allowed us to reclaim the night, transforming it from a time of fear into a canvas for life, work, and connection. The story of the street lamp is the story of how we learned to master the darkness and, in doing so, built the modern world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light and safety. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden history behind our everyday world. Let me know in the comments what piece of everyday technology you'd like to learn about next. Stay curious and stay safe. As twilight fell in ancient cities, architecture would simply disappear, melting into the vast, dark canvas of the night. Buildings, no matter how grand, were daytime creatures. But then, a flicker appeared. First, it was the soft, gentle glow of an oil lamp. Then the brighter, more consistent flame of a gas lamp. And finally, the brilliant, steady shine of electric light. Suddenly, cities didn't go to sleep when the sun went down. A second life, a nighttime persona, was born for every building, every street, and every square. Imagine standing in a Parisian street in the late 19th century. As the gas lamps are lit one by one, the stone facade of a grand cathedral begins to emerge from the darkness. Its towering arches, once invisible, now cast long, dramatic shadows that dance across the cobblestones. The intricate carvings around the doorways, previously lost to the night, are now highlighted, revealing the craftsman's skill in a completely new light. The windows, once dark voids, now shimmer, reflecting the warm glow of the lamps, hinting at the life stirring within. This wasn't just a happy accident. It was a revolution in how we perceive and interact with our built environment. Architects, who had for centuries designed primarily for the sun, now had a new tool, a new medium to play with: artificial light. They started to think about how their creations would look under the moon and the lamplight. It wasn't just about visibility. It was about atmosphere, drama, and emotion. Think about it. A quiet alleyway, which might have been a place of fear and uncertainty in total darkness, became something else entirely with a single, softly glowing lamp. It became defined, its path clear, its textures visible. The brick walls seemed warmer, the space more intimate, almost mysterious in a welcoming way. Light could transform a menacing void into a charming nook. This new consideration for nighttime aesthetics began to influence design choices directly. Architects started designing facades that would catch the light beautifully. They experimented with materials that would reflect or absorb light in interesting ways. Courtyards, once just open spaces, were designed to become glowing sanctuaries at night, with strategically placed lamps turning them into outdoor rooms. Entrances in particular became a major focus. A well-lit entrance wasn't just practical. It was an invitation, It signaled safety, warmth, and welcome. A grand hotel or a theater could use bright, dazzling lights to announce its presence, to draw people in from the darkened streets, promising an evening of excitement and comfort. The entrance became a beacon, a statement of purpose that shone brightly against the night. The effect was profound. Cities developed a dual identity. The daytime city was a place of work, commerce, and bustling activity, all seen under the clear, revealing light of the sun. But the nighttime city was a place of leisure, mystery, and beauty, painted with the soft brushes of gaslight and the sharp lines of electric light. The very same buildings took on different characters. A stern, imposing bank by day could become an elegant, almost ethereal structure by night, its columns glowing softly, its details highlighted against the dark sky. This new nighttime world also changed how people felt about their cities. It fostered a sense of community after dark. People were no longer confined to their homes once the sun set. They could stroll through illuminated parks, gather in brightly lit squares, and admire the architectural beauty of their city under the stars. The street lamp didn't just light up stone and brick, it lit up social life. The relationship between light and architecture became a dynamic dance. Light sculpted buildings, and buildings in turn shaped the light. A row of uniform street lamps would create a rhythmic pattern of light and shadow along a boulevard, guiding the eye and creating a sense of order and grandeur. In contrast, a single lamp in a small square might create a pool of light that felt cozy and secluded. This philosophy continues to this day. Modern lighting designers and architects work hand in hand. Think of the iconic skyscrapers that define our modern skylines. Their nighttime appearance is as crucial as their daytime silhouette. The way they are floodlit, the patterns of light in their windows, the glowing spires that pierce the sky, it's all a deliberate, carefully choreographed performance. It's a direct legacy of that first humble street lamp that dared to challenge the darkness. From the first flicker of an oil lamp casting a soft silhouette on a stone arch, to the complex LED displays that wash entire buildings in color, the story is the same. We are shaping our cities not just with concrete and steel, but with photons and shadows. The street lamp did more than make our nights safer. It gave our cities a soul that shines long after the sun has set. It allowed us to see our world and the magnificent structures we build in a whole new light. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the illuminated history of our cities, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories like this. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit city street at night and felt a sense of wonder, or maybe just a little bit safer? It's something we take for granted, but the story of how our nights became illuminated is a fascinating journey through time, innovation, and social change. Tonight, we're going to tell the story of the humble street lamp and how it completely remade our world after the sun went down. For most of human history, nighttime meant darkness. Cities were treacherous places after dusk. The only light came from the moon, stars, or perhaps a flickering torch carried by a lone watchman. Streets were empty, businesses were shuttered, and danger lurked in every shadow. But all that began to change with a simple yet revolutionary idea: lighting the streets for everyone. Our story begins in the 17th century. Cities like Paris and London started experimenting with oil lamps. Imagine this: hundreds of lanterns filled with whale oil or vegetable oil being lit by hand every single evening. It was a massive undertaking. Lamplighters would patrol the streets at dusk with their ladders and torches, bringing a soft, golden glow to the main thoroughfares. It was a faint light by our standards, but for the people of that era, it was miraculous. For the first time, city dwellers could venture out after dark with a degree of confidence. The night was no longer a realm of absolute obscurity. This simple innovation had a profound effect on public safety. Crime rates, which thrived in the darkness, began to drop in well-lit areas. The lantern became a symbol of order and security, a silent guardian watching over the city. People started to feel that the night wasn't just something to be endured indoors, but something that could be experienced. Then came the 19th century and the age of gaslight. This was a quantum leap forward. Gas lighting was brighter, more reliable, and more widespread than oil lamps. A network of pipes was laid beneath the streets, feeding gas to elegant, cast-iron lampposts that soon became iconic features of Victorian cities. The glow was brighter, more brilliant white, and it pushed the shadows back even further. The effect on city life was dramatic. The nighttime economy, as we might call it today, was born. Theaters, music halls, and shops could stay open later, attracting crowds of people eager for evening entertainment and socializing. The city became a stage, and the gaslights were its spotlights. Writers like Charles Dickens and Robert Louis Stevenson captured this new atmosphere in their novels, a world of fog, gaslight, mystery, and romance. The gaslit street was a place of both beauty and intrigue. But the story doesn't end there. The most significant revolution was yet to come. In the late 19th century, a new kind of magic appeared, electric light. When pioneers like Thomas Edison perfected the incandescent light bulb, the world changed forever. The first electric streetlights were arc lamps, incredibly bright and almost otherworldly. They bathed entire city squares in a powerful, steady glare that made gaslight seem dim and quaint. Cities raced to electrify. Wabash, Indiana, became the first city in the world to be fully lit by electricity in 1880, transforming its town square into a nighttime spectacle that drew visitors from miles around. The whiteways of major cities, streets lined with dazzling electric lights, became symbols of progress and modernity. Electricity was clean, efficient, and brilliant. The era of the lamplighter was over, replaced by the simple flick of a switch. This intense, reliable light had an incredible impact. It made streets feel almost as safe as they were during the day. It allowed for factories to run night shifts, accelerating industrial production. And it fundamentally changed our relationship with the night. The 24-hour city was becoming a reality. The boundary between day and night was blurring. But beyond safety and industry, the street lamp fostered a new kind of social life. Let's zoom in on a classic scene, the cafe under the lamp. With the arrival of dependable light, cafes and restaurants could spill out onto the sidewalks. They placed tables and chairs directly beneath the warm glow of the gas or electric lamps, creating inviting outdoor spaces. Imagine a Parisian cafe in the late 19th century. Couples could linger over a glass of wine, their faces illuminated by the soft light. Friends could gather for a conversation long after sunset. Artists and writers could sit, scribbling ideas on napkins inspired by the vibrant life unfolding around them. The street lamp became a silent host, casting a halo of warmth over these small moments of human connection. It turned a simple sidewalk into an extension of the living room, a public space for private moments. It witnessed quiet conversations, first dates, and the birth of countless creative ideas. This new culture of evening leisure was a direct result of public lighting. The street lamp wasn't just a piece of infrastructure. It was an enabler of community and culture. It created a backdrop for the romance, the drama, and the simple pleasures of city life. From the faint flicker of an oil lamp to the brilliant glare of an LED, the evolution of the street lamp mirrors our own journey towards a more connected, vibrant, and sleepless world. These silent sentinels have watched over centuries of change, illuminating our paths and transforming our nights from a time of fear into a time of possibility. They've made our cities safer, our economies more dynamic, and our social lives richer. So the next time you find yourself walking under the glow of a street lamp, take a moment to appreciate it. Think of the lamplighters with their ladders, the intricate web of gas pipes beneath your feet, and the brilliant spark of electricity that finally conquered the night. You're walking through a living museum of light, a testament to human ingenuity and our endless desire to push back the darkness. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the hidden histories that shape our world. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next one. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to tell a story about something you probably walk past every single day without a second thought. The humble street lamp. But this isn't just a story about a light on a pole. It's the story of how we conquered the night, how our cities became safer, and how our entire way of life was reshaped by the glow from above. Our journey begins in a world lit only by the moon, stars, and the flickering flames of torches and candles. For most of human history, the night was a dark, mysterious, and often dangerous place. Cities would plunge into an abyss of shadows once the sun went down. Public spaces were deserted, travel was risky, and the fear of the unknown kept most people indoors. The night belonged to those with ill intentions, and the concept of a bustling nightlife simply didn't exist. Early attempts to light the streets were modest. In cities like London and Paris, residents were ordered to hang lanterns outside their homes. But these were just tiny pinpricks of light in a vast ocean of darkness. They were unreliable, powered by smelly animal fat or oil, and required constant maintenance. It was a start, but it was a far cry from illuminating an entire city. Then came a revolution fueled by gas. In the early 19th century, gas lighting began to spread. Picture this, a network of pipes running beneath the city streets, feeding gas up into ornate lampposts. Each evening, a lamplighter would walk his route, a long pole in hand, touching the tip to each lamp to ignite a gentle golden flame. It was a magical sight, and it transformed the urban landscape. For the first time, major boulevards and public squares were bathed in a consistent, widespread glow. People felt safer. Shops could stay open later. The evening became a time for leisure, for strolling, for socializing. Theaters and cafes thrived under the new gaslight. The city was no longer just a place to work. It was becoming a place to live, even after dark. But gaslight wasn't perfect. The light it produced was still somewhat dim and flickered. The lamps produced soot and heat, and there was always the underlying risk of gas leaks and explosions. The job of the lamplighter, while romantic in our eyes, was a daily chore. The system required a massive infrastructure of pipes and constant maintenance. People knew there had to be a better way. The world was on the cusp of an even brighter revolution, one that would be powered not by fire, but by a force that was still mysterious to many: electricity. The real game changer arrived with a flicker, then a steady, brilliant shine. We're talking about the electric light bulb. When inventors like Thomas Edison perfected a commercially viable incandescent bulb, it wasn't just a new gadget. It was the dawn of a new era. The potential for lighting our cities was immediately obvious. Imagine the pitch. No more smelly gas, no more soot staining the buildings, no more daily ritual of lighting and extinguishing each lamp one by one. Just a clean, steady, and much brighter glow at the flip of a switch. But the transition wasn't overnight. Cities were hesitant at first. They had invested heavily in gas infrastructure, and this newfangled electricity thing seemed complex and expensive. The early electrical systems were a tangled mess of wires, often strung precariously from building to building. It was a chaotic experimental phase. Wabash, Indiana, holds the honor of being the first city in the world to be fully lit by electricity in 1880, using powerful arc lamps that bathed the town square in a light so bright it was said to be like artificial moonlight. It was a spectacle, and soon other cities started to take notice. Slowly but surely, the electric revolution took hold. One by one, gas lamps were retrofitted or replaced. The new electric street lights were a marvel. They were brighter, cleaner, and far more reliable. The quality of light was different too. It was a clearer, whiter light that cut through the darkness with unprecedented clarity. The impact on public safety was immediate and dramatic. Police reports from the era noted a significant drop in street crime in well-lit areas. Dark alleys and shadowy corners, once the domain of criminals, were now illuminated. People, especially women, reported feeling much safer walking the streets at night. This newfound sense of security fundamentally changed the social fabric of the city. The night was no longer a frontier to be feared, but a new space to be explored and enjoyed. The city that never sleeps wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was a new reality made possible by the electric street lamp. It powered the growth of the 24-hour economy, allowing factories to run night shifts and businesses to operate around the clock. This electric glow reshaped our very perception of time and space. The strict division between day and night began to blur. With brightly lit streets, the evening became an extension of the day. People could shop, dine, and seek entertainment well into the night. This led to the rise of what we now call nightlife. Theaters, cinemas, dance halls, and restaurants flourished, creating a vibrant nocturnal culture. The street lamp became a silent guardian of this new urban rhythm. It also changed how we designed our cities. But the story doesn't end there. The technology of street lighting has continued to evolve. The 20th century saw the introduction of more efficient technologies like fluorescent, mercury vapor, and high-pressure sodium lamps. That's the classic orange-yellow glow many of us grew up with. Each new technology aimed to produce more light for less energy. And today, we are in the midst of another great transition, the switch to LED lighting. LEDs are incredibly energy efficient, long-lasting, and offer unprecedented control. With smart LED streetlights, cities can now adjust the brightness of lamps in real time based on traffic or weather conditions. They can be networked, reporting when a bulb needs to be replaced. Some are even being equipped with sensors to monitor air quality, traffic flow, and even available parking spaces. The humble street lamp is evolving from a simple light source into a high-tech hub for the smart city of the future. It's a powerful reminder that even the most common objects around us have incredible stories of innovation and transformation behind them. So, the next time you re-out for an evening walk and you see that familiar glow from a street lamp above, take a moment to appreciate it. It's more than just a light. It's a symbol of our journey from a world ruled by darkness to a world where our cities can shine brightly all through the night. It represents safety, community, and the relentless human drive to innovate and improve our world. It's the silent sentinel that watches over our streets, a testament to how one bright idea could literally change the world, remaking our nights and reshaping our lives in the process. From a simple oil lamp to a smart city sensor, the story of the street lamp is the story of modern civilization itself, written in light against the canvas of the night. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden history behind our everyday world. Let me know in the comments what other everyday objects you're curious about. Stay bright, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video. Have you ever stood in a city at night and just marveled at the glow? That endless sea of light that turns skyscrapers into constellations and streets into rivers of gold. It feels so permanent, so fundamental to city life that it's hard to imagine a time when the night was truly dark. A time when stepping outside after sunset was an act of bravery, a plunge into a world of unseen dangers and profound silence. But that world wasn't so long ago. The story of how we conquered the dark is the story of the street lamp. A journey from flickering flames to the steady, brilliant glow that defines our modern world. It's a tale of innovation, of changing societies, and of how we fundamentally remade the night itself. Let's travel back, way back, before the hum of electricity. Imagine a city like London or Paris in the 17th century. Once the sun went down, the city was swallowed by an almost absolute darkness. People who had to be out carried lanterns or hired link boys' children who would carry a torch to light the way for a small fee. The streets were treacherous, filled with potholes, refuse, and the constant threat of robbers hiding in the shadows. There was no nightlife as we know it. The world simply shut down. The first real attempt to systematically light a city came in the form of oil lamps. In 1417, the mayor of London ordered citizens to hang lanterns outside their homes during the winter months. It was a start, but it was patchy, unreliable, and depended entirely on individual compliance. The real breakthrough came in Paris in the late 1600s. King Louis XIV, the Sun King, was determined to bring order and safety to his capital. He mandated the installation of thousands of lanterns filled with oil or tallow, hung on ropes over the center of the streets. Suddenly, Paris wasn't just the city of love. It became the city of light. This wasn't just about aesthetics. It was a powerful statement of control and security. Crime rates reportedly dropped. People felt safer, and for the first time, a semblance of public life began to stir after dark. These early oil lamps were a massive improvement, but they had their problems. They were dim, smelly, and incredibly labor-intensive. An army of workers, known as lamplighters, was needed every single day. Their job was a ritual. At dusk, they would walk their routes with a ladder and a torch. They'd climb up, trim the wick, fill the lamp with oil, and light it. Then at dawn, they'd do it all again to extinguish the flame. It was a respected and essential profession. The lamplighter was a familiar, comforting figure, a literal bringer of the light who kept the darkness at bay. For over a century, the faint, flickering glow of oil was the best humanity could do to illuminate its growing cities. But a new, more powerful contender was on the horizon, one that burned with a brilliant, steady flame: gas. The dawn of the 19th century brought the Industrial Revolution, and with it, a revolutionary new way to light the world. The magic ingredient was coal gas. By heating coal in an oxygen-deprived environment, you could produce a flammable gas that could be piped directly to a lamp and ignited. The first public street to be lit by gaslight was Pall Mall in London in 1807. The effect was astonishing. People flocked to see it. Compared to the dim, smoky oil lamps, gaslight was dazzlingly bright, almost magical. It burned with a clean, white-yellow flame that cast sharp shadows and illuminated faces with startling clarity. This wasn't just a brighter light. It was a system. Instead of individual lamps needing daily refueling, a central gasworks could produce gas and pipe it across the entire city. This was a game changer. London, Baltimore, Paris, and other major cities began rapidly installing gaslight infrastructure. The gaslight era had begun. The impact on society was profound. For the first time, large-scale evening entertainment became possible. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open late, bathed in the brilliant new light. The city at night was no longer just a place of transit. It became a destination. People went out for evening strolls to socialize, to see and be seen. The very rhythm of urban life was changing. The lamplighter's job evolved too. They no longer needed to carry oil. Now their primary tool was a long pole with a hook to turn the gas valve and a small flame at the end to ignite the jet. It was quicker, cleaner work. The gaslit streets became iconic, immortalized in the literature of Charles Dickens and the paintings of the Impressionists. They represented progress, modernity, and a new kind of urban beauty. But gaslight had a dark side. Gas mains could leak, leading to explosions. The light, while bright, still hissed and flickered, and the unburned gas produced a rather unpleasant smell. It was a fantastic leap forward, but it was still a technology based on fire. The ultimate revolution, the one that would truly banish the flame from our streets, was yet to come, and it would be powered by a force that was clean, silent, and seemingly limitless: electricity. And then everything changed. While the gaslight era was in full swing, scientists and inventors around the world were racing to harness the power of electricity. The challenge wasn't just creating a light bulb, but creating one that was practical, long-lasting, and part of a system that could power an entire city. This is where the legendary figure of Thomas Edison enters our story. While he didn't invent the light bulb and a vacuum, his true genius lay in perfecting it and, more importantly, engineering the entire infrastructure needed to support it. Edison's breakthrough was the creation of a reliable, long-burning incandescent bulb with a carbonized bamboo filament in 1879. This bulb didn't just glow, it glowed for hundreds of hours. It was stable, silent, and produced a warm, steady light without any open flame. It was, in a word, safe. But a bulb is useless without a socket. A socket is useless without wiring, and the wiring is useless without a power source. Edison's vision was holistic. He developed everything: generators, junction boxes, fuses, meters, the entire system of generation and distribution that we now call the power grid. In 1882, he switched on his Pearl Street station in Lower Manhattan, and a square-mile area of the city lit up with electric light. It was the beginning of the end for gaslight. The transition wasn't instantaneous. It took decades. But the advantages of electric light were undeniable. It was brighter, safer, and cleaner than gas. There were no fumes, no flicker, and a dramatically reduced risk of fire. The soft, silent hum of electricity began to replace the hiss of gas. For the lamplighters, this was the final curtain call. Their profession, once so vital, was becoming obsolete. One by one, gas lamps were converted or replaced with electric ones. The image of the lamplighter with his long pole, a figure who had walked the streets for generations, slowly faded into memory and folklore. The rise of the electric street lamp quietly but completely reshaped the rhythm of urban life. Streets, parks, and train stations were bathed in a consistent, reliable glow. This had a huge impact on public safety. Well-lit areas deterred crime and made people feel secure at all hours. It also unlocked the 24-hour city. Factories could run night shifts more efficiently. Transportation could operate around the clock. The night was no longer a barrier to commerce or activity. It was simply another phase of the urban day. The consistent glow of Edison's network brought a new order and predictability to the urban environment. The city became a machine that never slept, powered by the silent, invisible force of electricity. Today, we stand on the shoulders of these innovations. Our cities are illuminated by a dazzling array of technologies, from high-pressure sodium lamps to energy-efficient LEDs that can be controlled remotely and change color on command. We can light entire stadium fields with more brightness than a whole 19th century city. The light is so abundant that we now talk about light pollution and the importance of preserving the dark sky. It's a problem our ancestors could never have imagined. From the first smoky oil lamps of Paris to the brilliant hiss of Victorian gaslight, and finally to the silent, steady glow of Edison's electric dream, the street lamp has been more than just a piece of technology. It has been a sentinel of safety, an engine of commerce, and a stage for public life. It allowed us to push back the darkness, to extend our days, and to build the vibrant, sleepless cities we call home. So the next time you're out at night, take a moment to look up at that humble street lamp. It's not just lighting your path. It's a monument to our centuries-long quest to conquer the night. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden histories that shape our world. Have you ever walked down a city street at night, bathed in the warm glow of a street lamp and wondered about its story? It's something we take for granted, isn't it? This constant, reliable light pushing back the darkness. But the history of the street lamp is a fascinating tale of innovation, social change, and the very reinvention of night itself. It's a story of how we conquered the dark, and in doing so, transformed our cities and our lives forever. So join me as we journey back in time to uncover the brilliant history of the street lamp. Before widespread street lighting, the night was a different world. It was a realm of deep shadows, uncertainty, and palpable danger. Cities would plunge into an almost absolute darkness, and people's lives were dictated by the setting of the sun. If you had to venture out after dusk, you'd carry a personal lantern or hire a link boy, a child who would guide you through the treacherous, unlit streets with a flaming torch for a small fee. The night was isolating, limiting social life and economic activity. It was a time when the world simply stopped. Our story begins with the humble oil lamp. In cities like London and Paris during the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the first organized attempts at street lighting appeared. Authorities mandated that residents hang a lantern, usually a simple box with a candle or an oil-soaked wick outside their homes from dusk until a certain hour. This was a start, but it was far from perfect. The light was dim, flickering, and unreliable. The lamps needed constant maintenance, the oil was messy, and they were often extinguished by wind and rain. Nevertheless, for the first time, slivers of light began to pierce the urban darkness, offering a small but significant increase in safety and mobility after sunset. The real revolution, however, came with gaslight. In the early 19th century, inventor William Murdoch pioneered the use of coal gas for illumination. The first city to fully embrace this technology was London, with Pall Mall being the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gas in 1807. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Gaslight was significantly brighter and more consistent than oil. It cast a steady, warm glow that transformed the nighttime cityscape. Suddenly, streets were no longer menacing voids but became navigable, even inviting. People could stroll in the evenings, shops could stay open later, and a new nightlife began to emerge. The lamplighter became a beloved figure in the community, making his rounds at dusk with a long pole to light each lamp and returning at dawn to extinguish them. Gaslight didn't just illuminate the streets. It illuminated a new era of urban possibility. This newfound light had a profound impact on public safety. Crime rates, which had thrived under the cover of darkness, began to decrease in well-lit areas. The presence of light acted as a deterrent, making streets feel safer for everyone. Police forces, which were also becoming more organized during this period, found their work much more effective. The phrase "light is the best policeman" became a common saying, highlighting the direct link between illumination and security. For the first time in history, citizens could feel a sense of collective safety on their city streets after dark. The fear that had once defined the night began to recede. But street lamps weren't just about function. They quickly became a form of fashion and civic pride. The Victorian era, in particular, saw the lamppost transform into a work of art. Cast iron, a versatile and durable material, allowed for incredibly ornate and decorative designs. Lampposts were adorned with intricate scrollwork, elegant floral motifs, and the official emblems of the city. They weren't just lighting fixtures. They were landmarks, symbols of a city's prosperity, modernity, and artistic taste. Different districts might have their own unique lamppost designs, creating a distinct identity for each neighborhood. In some cities, particularly beloved or historic lampposts were even given affectionate nicknames, treated almost like silent, steadfast residents who had watched the city grow and change around them. Then came the spark of the modern age, electricity. In the late 1870s and 1880s, pioneers like Thomas Edison and Joseph Swan developed practical incandescent light bulbs. The arc lamp was one of the first forms of electric street lighting, producing an intensely bright, almost bluish-white light. While powerful, it was also harsh and required high maintenance. The true game changer was the incandescent bulb. Its light was softer, more reliable, and could be easily switched on and off from a central station, making the lamplighter obsolete. Paris, the city of light, famously showcased the new technology at the 1889 World's Fair, dazzling visitors and solidifying electricity's place as the future of urban illumination. The transition to electric light was monumental. It was cleaner, safer, and far more efficient than gas. It allowed for even brighter and more widespread illumination, pushing the boundaries of the night further than ever before. This new, brilliant light fueled the 24-hour city. Factories could run night shifts, transportation could operate around the clock, and entertainment venues could thrive late into the evening. The rhythm of urban life was no longer tied to the sun. The electric street lamp completed the transformation that began with oil and gas, turning the night from a time of rest and fear into a time of activity and opportunity. Our modern world, with its bustling nocturnal economies and vibrant nightlife, is a direct legacy of this electrical revolution. Today, street lighting continues to evolve. We've moved from incandescent bulbs to more efficient technologies like sodium vapor lamps, which cast that familiar orange-yellow glow, and now to LEDs. LEDs are a quantum leap forward. They are incredibly energy efficient, long-lasting, and offer unprecedented control. With smart lighting systems, cities can now adjust the brightness of streetlights based on real-time conditions, dimming them to save energy when streets are empty and brightening them when pedestrians or traffic are detected. They can even change the color temperature of the light to be more environmentally friendly and less disruptive to wildlife. The humble street lamp has become part of the interconnected Internet of Things, a high-tech node in the smart city network. So, the next time you find yourself under the steady gaze of a street lamp, take a moment to appreciate it. It's more than just a light on a pole. It is a symbol of our journey from darkness to light, a testament to human ingenuity, and a silent guardian that has fundamentally reshaped our society. From the flickering oil lamps of the 17th century to the smart LEDs of the 21st, the story of the street lamp is the story of how we made the night our own. Thank you so much for joining me on this illuminating journey through history. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories about the hidden histories that shape our world. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. See you next time. Have you ever walked down a city street at night, bathed in the gentle glow of a street lamp, and felt a sense of peace? It's a feeling we often take for granted, but that simple light is the hero of a story that stretches back centuries, a story of how we conquered the night and, in doing so, completely reshaped our world. Before streetlights, the night was a different realm altogether. For most of human history, when the sun went down, life ground to a halt. Darkness was a curtain that fell, bringing with it a very real sense of danger. Streets were treacherous, crime was rampant, and social life was confined to the flickering light of a candle indoors. The night belonged to the shadows. But humanity is restless, and we've always pushed back against our limits. The first attempts at lighting our cities were humble. Imagine link boys, young boys for hire, carrying torches to guide the wealthy through the dark, perilous streets of London and Paris. Then came the era of oil lamps. In the late 17th century, cities began mandating that residents hang lanterns outside their homes. It was a start, a collective effort to poke holes in the darkness. These early lamps were feeble, casting small pools of wavering light, but they were revolutionary. For the first time, the night wasn't an absolute barrier. It was a challenge we were beginning to meet. Then the 19th century arrived, and with it, a true revolution, gaslight. In 1807, Pall Mall in London became the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gas lamps. The effect was magical. The light was brighter, more consistent, and more widespread than anything seen before. Suddenly, cities began to glow. Lamplighters became a new profession, their daily ritual of lighting and extinguishing the flames a symbol of the city's heartbeat. This wasn't just about visibility. It was about transformation. The night was no longer just for sleeping or hiding. It was becoming a new frontier for life. With gaslight, the nightlife as we know it was born. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open after dark, drawing people out of their homes. Evening strolls became a fashionable pastime. The city at night became a spectacle, a place of social gathering and entertainment. It also had a profound impact on public safety. Well-lit streets deterred crime, making cities feel safer and more orderly. The policeman on the beat became a more effective presence under the watchful eye of the gas lamp. This newfound security fundamentally changed people's relationship with their urban environment. The night was being tamed, civilized, and opened up for everyone. But the story doesn't end there. Just as the world was getting used to the warm hiss of gaslight, another even more powerful force was emerging: electricity. In the late 1870s, the first electric arc lamps began to appear. These were intensely bright, almost stark, casting sharp shadows and a brilliant bluish-white light. They were first used to illuminate grand public squares and major thoroughfares, stunning the public with their power. Arc lamps were the light of industry and progress, a symbol of modernity's unblinking gaze. They lit up factories for night shifts and turned city centers into dazzling landscapes that never slept. Following the arc lamp came Thomas Edison's incandescent bulb. While not as blindingly bright, it offered a softer, warmer, and more reliable glow. It was cheaper, safer, and easier to maintain than both gas and arc lamps. By the early 20th century, incandescent electric streetlights were rapidly replacing their predecessors. The lamplighter's job faded into history as electric grids spread, allowing entire cities to be illuminated with the flip of a single switch. This was the final step in conquering the darkness. The 24-hour city was now a reality, powered by the silent, steady hum of electricity. The night was no longer a void to be feared, but a canvas for human activity. This transformation wasn't just practical. It was profoundly cultural. The street lamp became a muse for artists, writers, and filmmakers. Think of the Impressionist painters like Monet or Pissarro, who were obsessed with capturing the fleeting effects of light. They painted gaslit boulevards where the warm glow blurred the edges of the world, creating scenes of romantic, rain-slicked beauty. The lamp wasn't just an object in their paintings. It was a source of atmosphere, emotion, and modern magic. It cast halos around figures, stretched shadows into mysterious forms, and bathed cobblestones in a dreamy amber light. This artistic love affair with the street lamp continued into the age of photography and cinema. In the world of film noir, the street lamp is practically a character in itself. It creates those iconic, high-contrast scenes, a detective standing in a stark pool of light, his face half hidden in shadow, or a lone figure walking down a foggy, lamp-lit street. The single, isolated street lamp became a powerful symbol of loneliness, mystery, and urban alienation. It could highlight a clue, reveal a threat, or simply emphasize a character's solitude in the vast, indifferent city. From romantic comedies to suspense thrillers, the street lamp has quietly shaped our visual storytelling, telling us how to feel without saying a word. Today, we are in the midst of another lighting revolution with the rise of LED technology. LEDs are incredibly efficient, long-lasting, and versatile. They allow cities to fine-tune the color and intensity of light, saving energy and reducing light pollution. But this shift also brings new conversations. What is the right kind of light for a city? The crisp white light of some LEDs can feel sterile compared to the warm, nostalgic glow of older sodium vapor lamps. We're now designing light not just for safety, but for well-being, for aesthetics, and for the environment. We're considering how light affects wildlife, our sleep patterns, and our simple enjoyment of the night sky. The humble street lamp is so much more than a piece of urban furniture. It's a testament to our ingenuity, a silent guardian that has allowed our societies to flourish. It has reshaped our days and reclaimed our nights. It has made our cities safer, more vibrant, and more social. And it has inspired generations of artists to find beauty in the interplay of light and shadow. So the next time you find yourself walking under the warm glow of a street lamp, take a moment. Appreciate that simple, steady light. It's the quiet hero of our modern world, the flame that holds the darkness at bay and allows our lives to shine. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story of light as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the hidden histories that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and felt that sense of safety and wonder? It's something we take for granted, but our glowing city nights are a relatively recent invention. For most of human history, the night was a realm of darkness, a place of hidden dangers and quiet fears. But that all began to change with a simple, yet revolutionary idea, the street lamp. This is the story of how we conquered the night, and how a humble light on a post completely remade our world. Before streetlights, cities after sunset were pitch black. People who dared to venture out had to hire link boys, young boys carrying torches, just to see a few feet ahead. The darkness was a perfect cover for crime, and walking at night was a risky gamble. The city essentially shut down when the sun went down. This was the world waiting for a spark of change. The first revolution came in the form of oil. In the late 17th century, cities like Paris and London began installing thousands of oil-burning lanterns. Imagine the scene. For the first time, main streets were bathed in a soft, flickering glow. It was magical, but it was also a massive undertaking. An army of lamplighters was needed. Every single evening they would walk the streets with their ladders and torches, individually lighting each lamp. And every morning, before dawn, they would do it all again, extinguishing the flames and trimming the wicks. It was a constant, grueling job, but it laid the foundation for the modern city. With this newfound light came a new form of guardianship. The night watch, the early equivalent of a police force, could now patrol illuminated streets. Their silhouettes, framed by the gentle glow of the oil lamps, became a symbol of security. These constables and watchmen could finally see into the dark alleys and shadowy corners that were once havens for criminals. The street lamp wasn't just a source of light. It became a silent partner in safety. It revealed dangers, guided the footsteps of late-night travelers, and offered a beacon of comfort to anyone walking home alone. The familiar cry of the watchman, "All's well," echoed with more confidence under the watchful eye of the street lamp. But oil had its limits. The light was dim, the lamps were smoky, and they required constant attention. The world was ready for something brighter, something more efficient. And in the early 19th century, it arrived, gaslight. Gas lighting was a game changer. Fueled by coal gas and distributed through a network of pipes, these new lamps burned with a brilliant, steady flame that was far more powerful than any oil lamp. Cities seemed to come alive at night. Theaters, shops, and restaurants could stay open later, creating a vibrant new nightlife. The night on the town was born. Walking through a gaslit city must have felt like stepping into another world. The light was dramatic, casting long, sharp shadows and transforming familiar buildings into majestic theatrical backdrops. It wasn't just about safety anymore. It was about spectacle. Cities competed to install the most elaborate and beautiful gas lamps, turning their streets into dazzling displays of progress and prosperity. Gaslight became synonymous with modernity and urban sophistication. It fueled the imagination of writers and artists, becoming a central character in countless novels and paintings from that era. The gaslit street was a place of mystery, romance, and endless possibility. But the age of gas, for all its brilliance, was just a stepping stone. In the late 19th century, a new power was poised to take over, one that would be cleaner, safer, and infinitely more powerful. This was the dawn of the electric age. When the first electric arc lamps were switched on, people were stunned. They were so bright they were sometimes called artificial moons. Crowds would gather just to witness the moment a street was illuminated by this incredible new technology. Early arc lamps were intense, almost harsh, casting a stark bluish-white light. They were perfect for lighting large, open areas like public squares and main thoroughfares, effectively banishing the shadows once and for all. Soon, Thomas Edison's incandescent bulb offered a softer, warmer, and more reliable alternative. The electric grid spread, and the flickering flames of gas and oil were replaced by the steady, clean glow of electricity. This wasn't just an upgrade. It was a total transformation. Electric streetlights allowed for unprecedented levels of safety and activity. Factories could run night shifts, transportation could operate around the clock, and city life became a 24-hour affair. The rhythm of the city was no longer dictated by the sun. We had created our own day within the night. The design of the street lamp itself evolved alongside the technology. From simple iron posts for oil lamps to ornate, decorative cast iron columns for gas lights to the sleek, functional designs of the electric era. Each style tells a story about the values and aesthetics of its time. Today, we're in the middle of another lighting revolution with LED technology and smart streetlights. These new lamps are incredibly energy efficient and can be controlled remotely. They can brighten when they detect a pedestrian, monitor traffic flow, and even provide Wi-Fi access. The humble street lamp is becoming a high-tech hub for the smart cities of the future. So, the next time you're out for a walk after dark, take a moment to look up at the street lights above you. They are more than just functional objects. They are the descendants of a long line of innovations that fought back the darkness. They are silent guardians that have reshaped our relationship with the night, making our cities safer, our lives more vibrant, and our world a little bit brighter. They are the unsung heroes of the modern city, and their story is a brilliant reminder of how a simple idea can illuminate the world. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the hidden history behind our everyday lives. Let me know in the comments what other everyday objects have a fascinating story you'd like to hear. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever walked down a brightly lit street at night and felt completely safe? Ever wondered what city life was like before this simple luxury? Just a few centuries ago, the night was a realm of deep darkness, a place of fear and uncertainty. The story of how we conquered the night is the story of the street lamp, a tale of innovation, debate, and the complete transformation of our cities. Let's shed some light on this fascinating history. Before the 19th century, cities after sundown were treacherous. If you were wealthy, your servants might carry torches or lanterns to guide you through the pitch-black streets. But for most people, the night meant staying indoors. The darkness hid dangers from simple trip hazards to thieves and criminals lurking in the shadows. Public spaces emptied, and social life came to a standstill once the sun disappeared. The first real attempt to change this came with oil lamps. Cities like London and Paris began installing them, but they were dim, smoky, and required an army of lamplighters to manually light each one every evening and extinguish it at dawn. It was a start, but the night still held its power. Then came a revolution, gaslight. In the early 1800s, cities began experimenting with lighting their streets using flammable gas. The first city to install permanent gas street lighting was London in 1807 on Pall Mall. The effect was magical. The light was brighter, more consistent, and far more extensive than anything seen before. It felt like the city had pushed back the darkness itself. People were mesmerized. For the first time, they could stroll through the streets in the evening, window shop, and gather in public squares. Nightlife as we know it began to flicker into existence under the warm, golden glow of the gas lamp. The era of gaslight transformed urban society. Streets that were once deserted became hubs of activity. Theaters, cafes, and shops could stay open later, creating a new nighttime economy. More importantly, crime rates began to fall. The old saying, "Light is the best policeman," proved true. Well-lit streets offered fewer hiding places for criminals, making everyone feel safer. The lamplighter became a beloved community figure, making his rounds with a long pole to ignite the magic of the evening. Gaslight didn't just illuminate the streets. It illuminated a new way of living. It brought people together and made the city a 24-hour place. But this new era wasn't without its problems. Gas mains were prone to leaks, which could lead to foul smells and, in the worst cases, dangerous explosions. The light, while revolutionary, still flickered and cast eerie dancing shadows. It was a romantic, almost theatrical light, but it wasn't perfect. And just as cities were getting used to the glow of gas, another, even more powerful innovation was on the horizon, ready to challenge everything. The age of electricity was dawning, and it promised a light that was brighter, cleaner, and more powerful than anything the world had ever seen. The stage was set for a monumental battle of technologies. The arrival of the electric arc lamp in the late 1870s was a shock to the system. These new lights were incredibly powerful, casting a brilliant, almost harsh white light that could illuminate entire city blocks. Paris, the City of Light, showcased them at the 1878 Universal Exposition, and the world was stunned. The light was so intense it was often compared to moonlight or even daylight. It was a symbol of progress, modernity, and scientific power. Cities like Cleveland and San Francisco quickly adopted this new technology, installing towering moonlight towers that bathed their downtowns in an unprecedented glare. The future, it seemed, was electric. However, not everyone was ready to let go of the familiar warm glow of the gas lamp. A great debate began to rage in city councils, newspapers, and public forums across the world. It was a classic clash, tradition versus innovation. Supporters of gaslight argued that its flickering flame was romantic, gentle, and more natural. They called the harsh, blue-white light of the electric arc lamp ghastly and unflattering. They argued it bleached the color out of everything and made people look like ghosts. The gas industry, fearing its own extinction, fought back hard, promoting the coziness and warmth of its product. On the other side, proponents of electricity championed its efficiency, safety, and sheer power. Electric light was brighter, which meant better crime prevention. It didn't rely on a flammable gas, eliminating the risk of explosions and smelly leaks. It was the light of the future, a symbol of a city that was forward-thinking and technologically advanced. The debate wasn't just about technology. It was about aesthetics and the very soul of the city. Did people want the romantic, theatrical ambience of gaslight or the clean, efficient, and powerful brilliance of electricity? In the end, practicality and progress won the day. Thomas Edison of the incandescent light bulb in 1879 was the final nail in the coffin for gas street lighting. The incandescent bulb offered the best of both worlds. It was safer and more reliable than gas, but its light was softer and warmer than the intense arc lamps. As electrical grids expanded and the cost of electricity dropped, cities one by one began the massive undertaking of replacing their gas networks with electrical wires. The lamplighter, once a symbol of the urban night, slowly faded into history, replaced by the simple flick of a switch at a central power station. Today, we live in a world defined by electric light, from the soft glow of a decorative lantern in a historic district to the bright, efficient LED lamps lining our highways. The legacy of this battle is all around us. The decisions made over a century ago shaped the look, feel, and safety of our modern cities. The next time you're out at night, take a moment to look at a street lamp. It's not just a light source, it's a monument to a revolution. It represents our victory over the darkness, the birth of modern nightlife, and the enduring human drive to innovate and build a brighter, safer world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the street lamp. If you found this illuminating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the hidden histories that shape our world. Have you ever taken a stroll through a city park after sunset, bathed in the gentle glow of lamps lining the pathways? It feels so natural, so serene, almost as if parks were always meant to be enjoyed at night. But what if I told you that this simple pleasure is a relatively recent invention? A revolutionary change that completely reshaped our relationship with the night, with nature, and with each other. This is the story of the street lamp, and how it brought light to the darkness, transforming our world in ways we often take for granted. For most of human history, the night was a realm of shadows, a time of caution and confinement. Cities were dark, mysterious, and often dangerous places after sundown. People hurried home, locking their doors against the unseen threats that lurked in the unlit streets. Parks, those beautiful green sanctuaries we cherished during the day, became no-go zones, their beauty swallowed by an impenetrable blackness. The idea of a leisurely evening walk through a park would have seemed not just impractical, but downright foolish. But humanity has always been driven by a desire to conquer the dark. The journey began humbly, with simple oil lamps. Imagine the scene in the 17th and 18th centuries. Lamplighters, the unsung heroes of their time, making their rounds at dusk. With a ladder and a wick, they would go from post to post, manually lighting each lamp. These early lights were faint, flickering flames, casting dancing shadows and offering more of a symbolic reassurance than true illumination. Yet, they were a start. They carved out small islands of light in a sea of darkness, making key intersections and important squares a little bit safer. It was the first crack in the armor of the night. Then came the age of gaslight in the 19th century, and everything changed. This was a quantum leap forward. Gas lamps burned brighter, longer, and more reliably than their oily predecessors. Cities like London, Paris, and Baltimore embraced this new technology with enthusiasm, laying down miles of pipes to feed a growing network of light. The effect was transformative. Streets that were once treacherous became navigable. The night was no longer a barrier to commerce and social life. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open later, and a vibrant nightlife began to emerge. The city was waking up to a whole new set of hours. This new, brighter world brought about a profound shift in public perception. People started to feel safer. Crime rates in well-lit areas began to drop. The dark corners where trouble could hide were suddenly exposed. This newfound sense of security was empowering. It gave people the freedom to move about their city at night, to reclaim the hours they had once lost to the darkness. The city was becoming a 24-hour entity, and its citizens were exploring this new frontier. It was in this glowing new era that a revolutionary idea took hold. What if we could bring this light, this safety, this new nocturnal freedom into our parks? Until then, parks were strictly daytime destinations. They were places for picnics, for children to play, for a breath of fresh air under the sun. But as the sun went down, the gates would close, and the park would revert to a wild, dark space. The introduction of lighting changed all of that. It was a declaration that these green spaces belonged to the people at all hours. The first park lamps were often gas-powered, their elegant, ornate posts becoming as much a part of the landscape as the trees and benches. They lined the main pathways, creating inviting corridors of light. They circled fountains, turning them into shimmering centerpieces that sparkled in the dark. Sometimes they were even hung from the branches of large trees, creating a magical fairy tale-like canopy of light. Suddenly, the park at night was no longer a place to be feared, but a place to be explored. Evening strolls became a fashionable new pastime. Couples could walk hand in hand along illuminated paths, their conversations punctuated by the soft hiss of the gas lamps. Families could enjoy the cool evening air after a hot summer day. Nature, once hidden by the night, extended its welcome. You could hear the rustle of leaves, smell the fragrance of night-blooming flowers, and see the silhouettes of trees against the softly lit sky. It was a multi-sensory experience that had never been possible before. The arrival of electric light at the end of the 19th century took this transformation even further. Electric arc lamps and later incandescent bulbs were brighter, cleaner, and more efficient than gas. They bathed parks in a steady, brilliant light that felt almost like a second daylight. This allowed for even more activities. Evening concerts, outdoor dances, and public gatherings could now be held in parks, turning them into vibrant hubs of community life after dark. The park became a true extension of the city's social fabric, a place where people from all walks of life could come together to relax and connect. Think about the iconic images of parks at night. The romantic glow of Central Park in New York, the enchanting lights along the Seine in Paris, the festive atmosphere of a public square in Rome. All of this is a direct legacy of the decision to light up our green spaces. It was a choice that democratized the night, making beauty and recreation accessible to everyone, not just those who could afford private, well-lit gardens. So the next time you find yourself in a park after dark, take a moment to look at the lamps. They are more than just functional objects. They are monuments to human ingenuity and our enduring quest to push back the darkness. They represent a fundamental shift in how we live, work, and play. They are the silent guardians that allow us to enjoy the simple, profound pleasure of a walk in the park, at any hour, turning what was once a realm of fear into a sanctuary of peace and community. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button, and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories about the hidden history that surrounds us every day. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next one. Hello and welcome. Have you ever walked down a city street at night, bathed in the gentle glow of a street lamp, and felt a sense of peace or safety? It's a simple, everyday experience, but behind that light is a fascinating story of transformation. A story of how we conquered the night and in doing so, reshaped our cities and ourselves. Today we're diving into the brilliant history of the street lamp. Our journey begins in a time when nightfall meant darkness and darkness meant danger. Before streetlights, cities were treacherous places after sunset. People either stayed indoors or ventured out with lanterns or torches, with the constant threat of robbers or a simple misstep in the dark. In 17th century Paris, a decree was issued for residents to keep lights burning in their windows to illuminate the streets. This was one of the first organized attempts at public lighting, but it was patchy and unreliable. The real revolution started with oil. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, cities like London and Paris began installing oil-powered lamps. Imagine an army of lamplighters, each with a ladder and a wick trimmer, making their rounds at dusk to light the city and again at dawn to extinguish the flames. It was a laborious process, but for the first time, major thoroughfares were consistently lit. This wasn't just about safety, it was about commerce. Shops could stay open later, and social life began to spill into the evening hours. The night was no longer just for sleeping or for those with ill intentions, but oil had its limits. It was smoky, smelly, and required constant maintenance. The next big leap came with gaslight. In the early 1800s, William Murdoch pioneered the use of coal gas for lighting. The first public street lit by gas was Pall Mall in London in 1807. People were mesmerized. The light was brighter, more consistent, and could be controlled from a central plant. Gaslight spread like wildfire across Europe and America. Entire cities were fitted with networks of gas pipes. The gaslight era had begun. This brighter, more widespread illumination changed the very rhythm of urban life. Night became a time for leisure, for theater, for strolling in parks. cities started to feel safer, more inviting, and more modern. Lampposts themselves became elegant fixtures, ornate symbols of civic pride and progress. However, the age of gaslight was destined to be a bright but brief chapter. A new, more powerful force was on the horizon: electricity. In the late 1870s, inventors like Pavel Yablokov and Charles Brush developed arc lamps. These were incredibly bright, almost blindingly so, perfect for lighting large public squares and industrial areas. Wabash, Indiana became the first city in the world to be fully lit by electricity in 1880, using 4 massive arc lamps to illuminate its downtown. But the true game changer was Thomas Edison's incandescent light bulb. While not as blindingly bright as arc lamps, his bulbs were safer, more reliable, and perfect for widespread residential and street lighting. By the turn of the 20th century, electric streetlights began replacing their gas-powered predecessors. They were cleaner, required less maintenance, and could be turned on and off with the flip of a switch. This transition marked the final step in truly taming the night. The lamplighter's job faded into history, replaced by the hum of the electrical grid. Modern street lighting allowed for the 24-hour city we know today, a world where activity never truly stops. Of course, the story of the street lamp isn't just about technology. It's also about its cultural impact. As soon as they appeared, street lamps captured the imagination of writers and artists. They became powerful symbols in literature and art. Think of the lonely figures standing under a single, isolated street lamp in a noir film, the halo of light creating a circle of revelation or suspense. In poetry, the street lamp became a silent witness, a nocturnal sun that observes the quiet dramas of city life. Writers embraced this symbolism. For Charles Dickens, the gaslit streets of London were a labyrinth of both wonder and menace, a stage for his sprawling cast of characters. The poet Charles Baudelaire saw the new lights of Paris as part of the city's modern fleeting beauty. Street lamps became metaphors for memory, solitude, and clarity. They lit the way for characters lost in thought, waiting for a lover, or simply pausing between the chapters of their lives. They represent a beacon in the darkness, a small pocket of safety and knowledge in the vast unknown of the night. It's the light that reveals the truth, or the one that casts long, mysterious shadows. From the first flickering oil lamps to the energy-efficient LEDs that light our streets today, the street lamp has been more than just a piece of infrastructure. It has been a catalyst for social change, a driver of economic activity, and a muse for creativity. It allowed us to extend our days, to gather in public spaces after dark, and to feel secure in our urban environments. It transformed the night from a time of fear into a time of possibility. So, the next time you find yourself walking under the steady glow of a street lamp, take a moment. Think of the centuries of innovation and the generations of people who worked to push back the darkness. That simple light is a testament to human ingenuity and our enduring desire to create communities that are safe, vibrant, and full of life, day and night. Thank you so much for joining me on this illuminating journey through history. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the hidden histories that shape our world. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Have you ever walked down a city street at night and really looked at the street lamps? They're more than just lights. They're silent storytellers of our cities, witnesses to centuries of change. Their glow has shaped everything from our safety to our social lives. Let's take a journey back in time and uncover the fascinating story of the street lamp. Our story begins in a world lit only by the moon, stars, and the occasional flicker of a torch. For most of human history, night was a time of darkness and danger. Cities were treacherous places after sunset. But then, in the 17th century, a revolutionary idea began to take hold in cities like Paris and London, lighting the streets for the public good. The first street lamps weren't much just simple lanterns holding candles or oil wicks. They were often privately funded by residents who were tired of stumbling in the dark. Imagine the effort. Each lamp had to be lit by hand every evening and extinguished every morning. It was a massive undertaking, but it was the dawn of a new era. For the first time, city streets began to push back against the darkness. This simple act of lighting the way had a profound impact. Crime rates began to drop as dark alleys and corners were illuminated. People felt safer venturing out after dusk. This new sense of security gave rise to something we take for granted today, the nightlife. Theaters, cafes, and shops could stay open later, and a vibrant evening economy began to flourish. The night was no longer just for sleeping. It became a time for socializing, entertainment, and commerce. The humble oil lamp wasn't just lighting the streets. It was lighting up human connection. Then came the 19th century and the Industrial Revolution, which brought with it a brighter, more efficient innovation: gaslighting. Gas lamps were a huge leap forward. Fed by a network of underground pipes, they burned much brighter and were more reliable than their oily predecessors. Cities across Europe and America raced to install this new technology. The warm, golden glow of gaslight became the signature look of the Victorian city. Think of the iconic images from Charles Dickens' novels or the misty, atmospheric streets of Sherlock Holmes' London. That was the world shaped by gaslight. It transformed the urban landscape into a stage for drama, romance, and mystery. The lamplighter, a figure who would walk the streets at twilight with a long pole to ignite the lamps, became a beloved and essential part of city life. But progress, as it always does, marched on. The late 19th century witnessed a discovery that would change the world forever: electricity. And with it came the electric street lamp. The first ones were arc lamps, which produced an incredibly bright, almost harsh, bluish-white light. They were powerful, maybe a little too powerful for some, but they were undeniably the future. They made streets safer and brighter than ever before. Soon after, Thomas Edison's incandescent bulb offered a softer, warmer, and more manageable alternative. The war of the currents between AC and DC power played out right there on our city streets, with different systems competing to light up the night. By the early 20th century, electricity had won. The age of the lamplighter came to a quiet end as electric grids spread, allowing entire cities to be illuminated with the flip of a single switch. This transition to electric light didn't just change the brightness. It changed the very rhythm of the city. Factories could run 24/7. Public transportation could operate reliably through the night, and cities truly never slept. The steady, predictable glow of the electric street lamp became a symbol of modern progress, order, and control. It represented humanity's triumph over the natural cycle of day and night. The city was now a completely human-made environment, illuminated and managed around the clock. Just as cities were getting used to the steady glow of electric street lamps, a new kind of light burst onto the scene in the 1920s and 30s: neon. Invented by French engineer Georges Claude, neon signs were everything the street lamp was not. They were loud, colorful, and dynamic. They didn't just illuminate. They advertised, they shouted, they dazzled. As cities grew louder and more commercial, neon became the language of the modern metropolis. Think of Times Square or the Las Vegas Strip. These glowing tubes of electrified gas could be bent into any shape, spelling out names, drawing pictures, and creating a vibrant, buzzing spectacle. Neon introduced a new layer to the urban nightscape. It was the light of commerce, of excitement, of entertainment. It competed for attention, creating a visual cacophony that was a world away from the quiet, uniform glow of the municipal street lamp. For a time, it seemed like the humble street lamp might be overshadowed, forgotten amidst the flashy brilliance of neon. The city night was no longer just about safety and order. It was about spectacle and desire. Yet, even as neon signs flashed and buzzed, the street lamp endured. It remained the steady backbone of the city's lighting. While neon grabbed your attention for a moment, the street lamp was always there, providing a constant, reassuring presence. It didn't need to sell you anything or scream for your attention. Its purpose was simpler, more fundamental: to provide light, to provide safety, to define the public space. The street lamp and the neon sign came to represent two different sides of the city: the civic and the commercial, the steady and the fleeting. Today, our streets are lit by a variety of technologies, from energy-efficient LEDs to modern designs that pay homage to historic gas lamps. But the fundamental principle remains the same. The street lamp is a silent guardian, a timeless piece of our urban furniture. It has watched generations pass, seen empires rise and fall, and witnessed the endless drama of human life unfold on the sidewalks below. It's a testament to our collective desire to create safe, vibrant, and livable cities. So the next time you're out for an evening stroll, take a moment to look up. Appreciate that steady, warm glow. It's more than just light. It's the legacy of innovators, dreamers, and countless lamplighters. It's the story of how we conquered the night, and in doing so, reshaped our world and ourselves. The street lamp is a quiet hero of the city, and its story is still being written, one night at a time. Thanks for joining us on this illuminating journey through history. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a like. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever walked through a city at night, bathed in the warm, reassuring glow of streetlights? It feels so normal, so essential, that it's hard to imagine a world without them. But for most of human history, the night was a vast, dark, and often dangerous unknown. The story of how we conquered the darkness is the story of the street lamp, a journey from flickering flames to the brilliant electric glow that transformed our world. So, how did a simple light on a post revolutionize city life, public safety, and even our social habits? Let's shed some light on the history of the humble street lamp. Our journey begins centuries ago in cities shrouded in almost total darkness after sunset. If you had to venture out, you were on your own. You'd hire a link boy, often a child, to walk ahead of you carrying a flaming torch, just to see a few feet in front of you. The darkness wasn't just inconvenient. It was dangerous. It provided perfect cover for criminals, making nighttime travel a risky gamble. The first attempts at public lighting were simple and often community-driven. In the early 15th century, London ordered its citizens to hang lanterns outside their homes during the winter months. But these were just candles or oil wicks, offering a feeble, flickering light that barely pierced the gloom. The first major leap forward came with the age of oil. In the late 17th and 18th centuries, cities like Paris and London began installing oil lamps on a massive scale. Imagine for the first time entire streets illuminated by a coordinated system. An army of lamplighters would make their rounds at dusk, each carrying a ladder and a torch. They would climb up, trim the wick, fill the lamp with oil, and light it. Then, at dawn, they'd return to extinguish the flame. It was a laborious, smelly, and messy job. The wheel oil commonly used gave off a sooty, unpleasant smoke. But despite its flaws, it was a revolution. For the first time, cities had a semblance of nightlife. People could stroll in the evenings, socialize, and visit cafes that now stayed open after dark. The night was no longer just a time for sleep or for crime. It was becoming a time for life. But oil had its limits. The real game changer was gaslight. In the early 19th century, inventor William Murdoch pioneered a way to use coal gas to produce a much brighter, more consistent, and more powerful light. London's Pall Mall became the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gas in 1807, and people were mesmerized. They called it painting with light. Gaslight was a spectacle. The light was brighter, almost magical to the people of the time. It spread rapidly across Europe and America. Grand new boulevards were designed around these elegant new gas lamps. The Victorian city, with its foggy, atmospheric nights illuminated by the golden glow of gaslight, became an iconic image. This new level of illumination dramatically improved public safety. Police could patrol more effectively, and crime rates in well-lit areas began to drop. The city was being tamed, one street lamp at a time. This new brightness also changed social dynamics. It created a clear division between the respectable, well-lit main streets and the dark, shadowy alleyways. The night became a stage. For the wealthy, it was a time for theater, balls, and promenading under the fashionable gaslight. For the less fortunate, the darkness still held its dangers. But the era of gaslight wasn't just about safety and society. It was also about industry. Factories could now operate around the clock, lit by the same gas that illuminated the streets. The 24-hour city was born, and the rhythm of life began to shift. no longer dictated solely by the rising and setting of the sun. The lamplighter was still a crucial figure, but now they turned a valve instead of lighting a wick. Then came the spark that would change everything: electricity. In the late 1870s, inventors like Pavel Yablokov with his electric candle and Charles Brush with his arc lamps began demonstrating the incredible power of electric light. These early arc lamps were intensely bright, almost too bright. They hissed, sputtered, and cast harsh shadows. They were perfect for lighting large industrial areas or public squares, but they weren't quite right for residential streets. The true revolution in street lighting arrived with Thomas Edison's incandescent light bulb. It offered a softer, steadier, and safer light. By the 1880s, cities began the slow, expensive process of wiring their streets for electricity. The age of gaslight was fading, and the electric city was dawning. The transition was gradual. For decades, gas and electric lamps existed side by side, a testament to a world in transformation. But the advantages of electricity were undeniable. With the flick of a switch in a central power station, an entire city could be illuminated instantly. The army of lamplighters, a profession that had existed for centuries, slowly became obsolete, a romantic memory of a bygone era. Electric streetlights became symbols of progress and modernity. Cities competed to install the most extensive and most elaborate lighting systems, showcasing their prosperity and technological prowess. The white ways of American cities, streets lined with dense clusters of bright electric lamps, became tourist attractions in themselves. The night was no longer just conquered. It was being celebrated. This newfound light didn't just change how our cities looked, it changed how we felt in them. And nowhere is this emotional connection more apparent than in cinema. From the very beginning, filmmakers understood the power of the street lamp. It wasn't just a prop. It was a character. Think of the classic film noir. The lone detective, shrouded in smoke, stands under a solitary street lamp, the harsh light carving his face out of the shadows. The lamppost becomes a beacon of momentary clarity in a morally ambiguous world. It's a place for reflection, for a whispered secret, for a fateful decision. The light isolates him, but it also provides the only illumination in his dark world. And what about romance? The street lamp is the silent witness to countless movie kisses. Lovers meet under its gentle glow, the light creating an intimate, magical space just for them. It frames their embrace, separating them from the rest of the world. The most famous example, of course, is Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain. The street lamp isn't just a prop he dances around, it's his partner. He swings from it, embraces it, its light reflecting his pure, unadulterated joy. The lamppost becomes an anchor for his happiness, a solid, dependable presence in a world suddenly turned wonderful by love. In musicals, horror films, dramas, and comedies, the street lamp sets the mood. It can be romantic and warm, or it can be cold, isolated and menacing, casting long, distorted shadows that hint at unseen dangers. It's a storyteller that speaks in a universal language of light and shadow. Today, our streetlights are more advanced than ever. We have energy-efficient LEDs, smart lighting systems that can adjust their brightness based on traffic, and even lights designed to minimize light pollution to protect our view of the stars. But their fundamental purpose remains the same as that first candle hung outside a London home centuries ago, to provide safety, to enable community, and to push back the darkness. From the humble oil wick to the intelligent LED, the street lamp has been a quiet but constant companion in our urban journey. It has allowed our cities to thrive 24 hours a day, reshaped our social lives, and become a powerful symbol in our art and culture. So next time you're out for an evening walk, take a moment to look up at that familiar, steady glow. It's more than just a light. It's a monument to our enduring quest to illuminate the world and a silent witness to the endless stories of the city. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story illuminating, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more journeys into the history of everyday things. We'll see you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a city street at night, bathed in the warm glow of a street lamp, and wondered where that light came from? It's something we take for granted, isn't it? A simple, silent fixture on the corner of the road. But the story of the street lamp is anything but simple. It's a tale of innovation, of societal change, and of how we conquered the night. This is the story of how oil, gas, and electricity didn't just light up our streets, they remade our world. Before streetlights, the night was a different realm altogether. For most of human history, when the sun went down, life came to a halt. Cities became dark, labyrinthine places. The wealthy might hire link boys, children carrying torches to light their way, but for everyone else, the darkness was a blanket of uncertainty and danger. The night belonged to those who wished to remain unseen, and public spaces were effectively closed after dusk. It wasn't just about safety. Social life, commerce, and community activities were all dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The fear of the dark was real and rational. The first major breakthrough came in the 15th century. Paris began requiring residents to keep a lantern burning in their windows to illuminate the streets. London followed suit a few centuries later with the first organized public street lighting using oil lamps. Imagine the scene: lamplighters making their rounds every evening at dusk, each carrying a ladder and a torch. They would climb up, trim the wick, fill the lamp with whale oil, and ignite a small flickering flame. At dawn, they would return to extinguish it. It was a laborious, messy job, but for the first time a steady, predictable light began to push back the darkness in major city centers. These early oil lamps were dim by our standards, casting a soft, localized glow, but they were revolutionary. They extended the day, allowing people to move about with a bit more confidence after sunset. But the age of oil was just a prelude. The real game changer was gas. In the early 19th century, London and Baltimore became pioneers in gas lighting. William Murdoch and others had figured out how to distill coal gas and pipe it directly to lamps. This was a massive leap forward. Gas lights were significantly brighter and more reliable than oil lamps. They cast a brilliant, steady light that transformed the urban landscape. The long, dark shadows of the night began to recede. Grand boulevards, public squares, and commercial districts were suddenly bathed in a powerful, almost magical glow. This new illumination had a profound effect on city life. The nighttime economy was born. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open later, attracting crowds that would have once been home, huddled by candlelight. People began to stroll in the evenings to see and be seen. The city at night became a spectacle, a place of leisure and entertainment. The gaslight era also brought a new sense of public order. Well-lit streets were seen as a deterrent to crime, and police forces found their work a little easier. The city was becoming a 24-hour entity, no longer surrendering its public spaces to the night. The lamplighter was still a crucial figure, but now they walked their routes with a long pole, turning a valve and igniting the gas with a spark. They were a familiar, reassuring presence in the daily rhythm of the city. Just as gaslight seemed to be the pinnacle of urban illumination, an even more powerful force was gathering on the horizon: the electricity. In the late 1870s, the arc lamp made its dazzling debut. These were incredibly bright, almost blinding, casting a harsh bluish-white light. They were perfect for lighting large industrial areas, train stations, and major intersections, but they were too intense for residential streets. The real revolution for everyday life came with Thomas Edison's incandescent light bulb. It offered a softer, warmer, and much safer alternative to the open flames of gaslights. The transition to electric street lighting was gradual, but unstoppable. Cities began the monumental task of stringing up wires, installing new poles, and replacing the old gas infrastructure. For the first time, light could be controlled centrally. With the flip of a switch in a power station, an entire city could be illuminated instantly. This was a new kind of magic. The electric glow was clean, consistent, and required far less manual labor than its predecessors. The role of the lamplighter, a profession that had existed for centuries, slowly faded into history, replaced by engineers and maintenance crews. Electric light standardized the night. From New York to London to Tokyo, the experience of a city after dark became remarkably similar, safe, accessible, and bright. But this bright new world didn't appear by itself, and it doesn't maintain itself either. Behind every single glowing lamp, whether it was oil, gas, or electric, there has always been quiet, relentless labor. Think about it. The glass casings had to be cleaned of soot, grime, and weather. Wicks had to be trimmed and oil reservoirs refilled. Gas mantles, those delicate mesh bags that produce the bright light, were fragile and needed frequent replacement. And of course, electric bulbs burn out. Beyond just the lamp itself, the posts could lean after a storm, get damaged in an accident, or simply degrade over time. This work was often invisible, but it was absolutely essential. Maintenance crews were the unsung guardians of the light. They worked in all weather, often at odd hours, to ensure the system never failed. Their diligence meant that a burned-out bulb was quickly replaced, and a flickering lamp was repaired, that the light was always there when we needed it. They were the ones who kept the night gently lit and the city gently safe. Their work ensured that the promise of a bright, secure urban night was not just a one-time achievement, but a continuous reality. We rarely notice them, but their efforts are what allow us to walk home without a second thought, to enjoy an evening out, to feel secure in our own neighborhoods after dark. So the next time you find yourself under the steady glow of a street lamp, take a moment. Remember the journey that simple light has taken, from the flickering flame of a whale oil lamp, to the brilliant hiss of a gas mantle, to the silent, steady hum of an electric bulb. It's a story of human ingenuity and our persistent desire to shape our environment. It represents our victory over the dark, a victory that allows our cities to thrive around the clock. And remember the quiet labor that keeps those lights on, a constant, humble service that makes our modern lives possible. That simple glow is more than just light. It's a symbol of safety, community, and progress. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this story illuminating, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more stories about the hidden, histories that shape our world. We love exploring these topics, and your support makes it all possible. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever walked down a street at night, bathed in the gentle glow of a street lamp, and wondered about its story? It's more than just a light. It's a silent guardian, a timekeeper, and a revolutionary force that completely reshaped our world after dark. Tonight, we're going to pull back the curtain of night and explore the incredible story of the street lamp, how it conquered the darkness, and in doing so, taught us a new way to live. Before street lamps, the night was a different realm altogether. For most of human history, when the sun went down, the world shrank. Darkness was a blanket of uncertainty, fear, and danger. Cities and towns would essentially shut down. People huddled in their homes, their only light coming from the flicker of a candle or the glow of a hearth. The streets belonged to the shadows, a place where you wouldn't want to be unless you absolutely had to. Robberies were common, accidents were frequent, and the simple act of walking from one place to another was a genuine risk. The night was a frontier, an untamed territory governed by the moon and stars, not by people. But that was all about to change with a simple yet brilliant idea. Let's light up the streets. The first attempts were humble. Imagine a London or Paris in the 15th century. Here and there, a homeowner might be required by law to hang a lantern outside their door. But these were just scattered flickers in a sea of black, powered by smelly, messy animal fat or tallow. They were inconsistent, a fire hazard, and did little to truly illuminate the urban landscape. The real journey begins with the age of oil. In the 18th and early 19th centuries, whale oil became the fuel of choice. It burned brighter and cleaner than tallow, and for the first time, cities began to install organized systems of oil lamps. Suddenly, main thoroughfares and important squares were bathed in a steady, albeit still dim, light. It was a revelation. People could venture out after sunset with a bit more confidence. Social life began to extend past dusk. But whale oil was expensive, and the supply was, tragically, finite. The lamps still required an army of workers, the lamplighters, to manually light each one at dusk and extinguish it at dawn. These figures, often seen with their long poles and ladders, became iconic characters of the city, the human hands that literally turned on the night. But a more powerful and efficient solution was just around the corner, one that would truly set the night ablaze: gaslight. The arrival of gaslight in the 19th century was like switching from a candle to a spotlight. Cities like London, Baltimore, and Paris were pioneers, laying down networks of pipes to feed gas directly to the lamps. The change was dramatic. Streets were suddenly bathed in a bright, consistent, almost magical glow. It was so much brighter than oil that people described it as artificial daylight. The effect on city life was immediate and profound. The night was no longer a barrier. Shops could stay open later, attracting evening customers. Theaters and concert halls thrived, as people could travel to and from them safely. The gaslit promenade became a new form of social entertainment. People would stroll down brightly lit boulevards simply to see and be seen. This newfound light had a powerful impact on public safety. The old saying, "Darkness is a friend to the thief," began to lose its power. Well-lit streets made it harder for criminals to hide. Police could patrol more effectively. Crime rates in illuminated areas started to drop. Light became a tool of order, a way for the city to assert control over its darkest corners. The gas lamp wasn't just a convenience. It was a symbol of progress, civilization, and security. It represented humanity's triumph over the primal fear of the dark. The city was no longer just a place to work. It was becoming a 24-hour spectacle of life and activity. And this rhythm of light brought with it a new kind of order. This brings us to a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of the street lamp, its role as a citywide clock. Before everyone had a watch on their wrist or a phone in their pocket, how did a whole city know when the day was truly ending and when the night was beginning? The street lamps provided the answer. The moment the lamplighter made his rounds, that was the official start of the evening. That flick of light was a signal. For bakers, it might mean it was time to start preparing the next day's dough. For travelers arriving late, it was a beacon of welcome, showing them they had reached civilization. For children playing in the streets, the lighting of the lamps was the non-negotiable curfew, the universal call to come home. Conversely, the extinguishing of the lamps at dawn marked the official start of the new day. It was a signal for the morning markets to open, for workers to head to the factories, for the city to stir back to life. This daily rhythm of illumination and darkness created a shared public sense of time. The street lamp became the city's metronome, quietly ticking off the hours for everyone. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor, a merchant or a laborer. The lamps turned on and off for everyone, synchronizing the pulse of urban life. This shared experience, this silent clock, helped forge a collective identity for the people of the city. They were all living by the same light. But technology, as always, marches on. And just as gaslight had replaced oil, a new, even more powerful force was about to electrify the world. The late 19th century saw the dawn of the electric age. First came the arc lamp. These were incredibly bright, almost blindingly so, casting harsh shadows and buzzing loudly. They were perfect for large industrial areas, docks, and major public squares, but a bit too intense for residential streets. Then came Thomas Edison's incandescent light bulb. It offered a softer, warmer, and much more manageable light. By the early 20th century, cities across the globe began the massive undertaking of replacing their gas networks with electrical grids. The electric street lamp was the final step in conquering the night. It was cheaper, safer, and far less labor-intensive than gas. A single switch in a control station could now turn on the lights for an entire district. The lamplighter, that romantic figure of the gaslit era, became a relic of the past. Electric light allowed for an even greater expansion of nightlife. Night shifts in factories became more common. Sports could be played after dark. The city that never sleeps wasn't just a catchy phrase anymore. It was a brightly lit reality. The street lamp had completely redrawn the boundaries of our day, extending our active, productive, and social lives deep into the night. Today, we are surrounded by an incredible variety of street lighting, from the warm, orange glow of sodium vapor lamps to the crisp white light of modern LEDs. These new technologies are incredibly energy efficient, and they offer even greater control. Smart streetlights can now adjust their brightness based on traffic or pedestrian activity, saving energy and reducing light pollution. They can be integrated with cameras and sensors, becoming part of the smart city infrastructure. enhancing safety and managing traffic in ways the old lamplighters could never have dreamed of. So the next time you're out for an evening walk, take a moment to look up at that humble street lamp. It's not just a piece of metal and glass. It's the latest chapter in a long and brilliant story. It's a monument to our quest to overcome darkness, a symbol of safety and community, and the quiet, steady clock that has helped shape the rhythm of our modern lives. From a simple oil-soaked wick to a smart networked LED, the street lamp has been our constant companion on our journey out of the night and into the light. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden histories that shape our world. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Have you ever noticed the street lamps in your neighborhood? Those quiet sentinels that flicker to life as dusk settles in? We often take them for granted, but their story is a fascinating journey through time. A tale of how we conquered the night and reshaped our world. From the flickering flames of oil lamps to the steady hum of electricity, the street lamp is more than just a light source. It's a symbol of safety, community, and progress. Today we're going to explore this incredible story, tracing how we went from dark, treacherous city streets to the well-lit avenues and cozy suburban lanes we know today. We'll uncover how the simple act of lighting our world transformed everything from nightlife and commerce to the very way we interact with our neighbors. So buckle up as we dive into the brilliant history of the street lamp. Our story begins in a world shrouded in darkness. Before streetlights, the night was a realm of uncertainty and danger. Cities were treacherous mazes after sunset. People who dared to venture out would hire link boys, children carrying torches to light their way. Or they'd simply stay indoors, locking their doors against the unseen threats of the dark. The night belonged to criminals and shadows. The first real attempts to systematically light a city came in the 15th century. London and Paris mandated that residents hang lanterns outside their homes. But these were just faint glimmers in a vast darkness, often just candles or oil wicks that offered little more than a pinpoint of light and were prone to being extinguished by the wind and rain. It was a start, but the night largely remained untamed. Then came the age of oil. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, innovations in lamp design, particularly the argand lamp, which used a circular wick and a glass chimney, produced a much brighter and more stable flame. For the first time, cities could deploy a network of public lighting. Armies of lamplighters would make their rounds at dusk, each one carrying a ladder and a torch to light the hundreds of oil lamps lining the main thoroughfares. At dawn, they would return to extinguish them. This was a revolution. Major city centers began to glow. Streets that were once deserted after dark started to come alive. Theaters and cafes could stay open later, and the concept of a nightlife began to take shape. For the first time in history, the city didn't completely shut down when the sun did. But oil was messy, smelly, and labor-intensive. A better solution was just around the corner, one that would burn even brighter. The next great leap forward was gaslight. In the early 1800s, innovators like William Murdoch in England demonstrated that coal gas could be piped directly to lamps and ignited to produce a powerful, continuous light. London's Pall Mall became the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gas in 1807, and the effect was astonishing. People flocked to see the spectacle. The light was so much brighter than oil that it felt like perpetual twilight. Gaslight spread like wildfire across the cities of Europe and America. It was cheaper and more efficient than oil. The lamplighters' job changed. Now they just had to turn a valve and ignite the gas. The bright, steady glow of gas lamps made streets feel significantly safer. Police could patrol more effectively and crime rates in well-lit areas began to drop. The gas lamp became a hallmark of Victorian progress and urban sophistication, a beacon of modernity that illuminated a new era of city life. The night was no longer something to be feared, but a new frontier for social life and commerce. But the true king of the night was yet to come. In the late 1870s, a new kind of magic was unveiled, electric light. Inventors like Pavel Yablokov with his electric candle, and Charles Brush, with his arc lamps, created lighting systems that were dazzlingly bright, almost too bright. These early arc lamps were intense, casting harsh shadows and buzzing loudly. They were perfect for lighting large industrial areas, train stations, and public squares, but they weren't quite suitable for everyday streets. The real game changer was Thomas Edison's incandescent light bulb. Patented in 1880, it offered a softer, warmer, and much safer alternative to the open flames of gas and the harsh glare of arc lights. It was controllable, clean, and could be powered by a centralized grid. The war of the currents between Edison's direct current and Westinghouse's alternating current eventually saw a C emerge as the standard, allowing for the efficient transmission of electricity over long distances. This paved the way for the electrification of entire cities. The era of the lamplighter was officially coming to an end. Now, with the flip of a single switch at a power station, thousands of lights could blink on in perfect synchrony, bathing the city in a reliable golden glow. The arrival of reliable electric lighting didn't just change the city centers. It fueled their expansion. As cities grew, a new kind of community began to emerge on their outskirts, the suburb. People sought a quieter life, away from the hustle and bustle of the industrial core, but they didn't want to give up the modern conveniences they'd grown accustomed to, especially the safety and comfort of a well-lit street. And so, as new suburban neighborhoods were planned and built, streetlights were an integral part of the design. The character of suburban lighting was different, though. Instead of the tall, ornate cast iron posts of the Victorian city, suburban lamps were often shorter, more utilitarian, and designed to blend into a residential landscape. The light itself was often softer, intended not to illuminate a grand boulevard for commerce, but to create a sense of security and intimacy for families. These suburban street lamps quickly became part of the fabric of community life. They became silent landmarks, the designated meeting point for a game of tag or hide-and-seek. The soft pool of light beneath a lamppost became a stage for childhood adventures, a safe zone where kids could play outside just a little longer after dinner, their parents able to watch them from a window. The glow stretched across driveways, connecting homes and creating a visual sense of a shared, protected space. Neighbors waving to each other in the evening, the familiar hum of the lamp overhead, a dog walker passing through the cone of light. These simple moments were all subtly orchestrated by the presence of the street lamp. It extended the usable hours of the day, allowing for evening strolls, chats with neighbors over the fence, and a feeling of quiet belonging that defined the suburban ideal. The streetlight was no longer just about pushing back the darkness. It was about fostering a sense of place and community. Today, street lighting technology continues to evolve. We're now in the age of LED light-emitting diodes. These lights are incredibly energy efficient, long-lasting, and offer unprecedented control. Cities around the world are retrofitting their old sodium and mercury vapor lamps with new LED fixtures. This shift isn't just about saving money and energy. Smart street lights are being developed that can do so much more. They can brighten or dim based on real-time traffic or pedestrian activity, report their own outages, and even act as public Wi-Fi hotspots or air quality sensors. The humble streetlight is becoming a node in the vast network of the smart city. However, this new era also brings new conversations. We're more aware now of issues like light pollution, the excessive artificial light that blots out the stars and can disrupt natural ecosystems. Designers and city planners are working on solutions like dark sky-friendly fixtures that direct light downwards, where it's needed, preventing it from spilling up into the night sky. The goal is to find a balance, to keep our streets safe and vibrant while preserving the natural beauty of the night. From a simple oil wick hanging outside a 15th century home to a smart LED fixture reporting data to City Hall, the journey of the street lamp is truly the story of our modern world. It's a story of innovation, of our constant drive to make our environment safer, more efficient, and more livable. These lights have allowed our societies to flourish after dark, creating vibrant nightlife, boosting economies, and fostering a sense of community in sprawling suburbs. They are the unsung heroes of our urban and suburban landscapes, silently watching over us every night. The next time you're out for an evening walk and you see that familiar glow switch on, take a moment to appreciate it. You're standing in the legacy of centuries of ingenuity, a simple yet profound technology that literally brought us out of the dark. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of light. If you found this illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden histories that shape our world. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you have any memories connected to the street lamps in your neighborhood? Have you ever walked down a street at night and felt that quiet sense of security from the warm glow of a street lamp? It's a feeling we often take for granted. But these silent sentinels of the night have a fascinating story. A story that completely reshaped our cities, our safety, and even how we spend our time after the sun goes down. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the humble street lamp, from its flickering origins to its smart, shining future. Let's journey back a few centuries. Before public lighting, the night was a different world entirely. Cities would plunge into an almost absolute darkness, a realm of uncertainty and fear. The moon and stars were the only guides. Wealthy citizens might hire link boys, children carrying torches, to light their path. But for most people, venturing out after dusk was a risky proposition. The darkness was a perfect cloak for crime, making every corner a potential hazard. Social life, commerce, and work were all dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The night was a frontier, an untamed space that humanity had yet to conquer. The first glimmers of change appeared in the 15th century. In 1417, the mayor of London issued an order for citizens to hang lanterns outside their homes during the winter months. It was a simple, decentralized idea, but revolutionary. For the first time, there was a collective effort to push back against the darkness. Paris followed suit in the 16th century with similar mandates. These early lanterns were rudimentary, often just a candle inside a glass box, offering a flickering, feeble light. They were unreliable, prone to being extinguished by wind and rain, and required constant maintenance. But they were a start. They planted a seed, the idea that the night didn't have to be feared, that it could be illuminated and made safe for everyone. This was the dawn of public lighting, a concept that would slowly but surely transform urban life forever. The real revolution, however, arrived with gas. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, innovators like William Murdoch in Britain began harnessing coal gas for illumination. Imagine the scene in 1807, when Pall Mall in London became the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gaslight. People were astonished. These new lamps burned with a brightness and consistency that was previously unimaginable. They cast a steady, powerful glow that dwarfed the weak flicker of oil lamps and candles. The era of gaslight had begun, and it spread like wildfire across Europe and America. An entirely new profession emerged: the lamplighter. Every evening at dusk, these figures would walk their routes, using a long pole with a wick at the end to light each lamp. At dawn, they would return to extinguish them. It was a rhythmic daily ritual that became a part of the city's heartbeat. Lamplighters were familiar, trusted figures in their communities, custodians of the night's light. Gaslight didn't just make streets brighter, it fundamentally changed society. For the first time, large-scale social gatherings, shopping, and entertainment could flourish after dark. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open later, creating a vibrant nightlife. The city was no longer a place that shut down at sunset. It was alive, buzzing with activity deep into the night. This newfound freedom to occupy the night also had a profound impact on safety. Well-lit streets were a powerful deterrent to crime. The dark corners of the city were being illuminated, making public spaces feel safer and more welcoming for everyone. The gas lamp wasn't just a piece of technology. It was a social catalyst, extending the day and democratizing the night. But technology never stands still. Just as gaslight had replaced oil, a new contender was emerging, one that promised a light that was brighter, cleaner, and more convenient than ever before: electricity. The late 19th century was a hotbed of electrical innovation, with inventors racing to create a practical, long-lasting electric light. While Thomas Edison is famous for his incandescent bulb, which would revolutionize indoor lighting, It was inventors like Pavel Yevlukov and Charles Brush who pioneered the arc lamp for public spaces. These early arc lamps were incredibly powerful, casting a brilliant, almost harsh white light. In 1878, Paris, the City of Light, showcased this new technology along the Avenue d'Opéra, dazzling the world. Soon, cities from Cleveland to London were installing these electric giants. They were a spectacle, a symbol of progress and modernity. The light they produced was so intense it was sometimes called artificial moonlight. The transition wasn't instantaneous. For decades, gas and electric lighting systems existed side by side, sometimes on the same street, creating a patchwork of old and new technology. But the advantages of electricity were undeniable. It was cleaner than gas, required less manual maintenance, no more daily rounds for the lamplighter, and could be controlled centrally from a power station. The profession of the lamplighter slowly faded into history, replaced by the electrician and the grid operator. As the 20th century progressed, the technology continued to evolve. The harsh arc lamps gave way to Edison's more efficient incandescent bulbs, and later to the familiar orange-yellow glow of sodium vapor lamps and the cool white of mercury vapor lamps. Each innovation made street lighting more efficient, more reliable, and more widespread, extending its reach from the city centers to suburban streets and rural roads. The electric street lamp became a ubiquitous, almost invisible, part of our modern landscape, a silent testament to our mastery over the darkness. And that brings us to today. You might think a street lamp is just a light on a pole, but the modern lamp is a marvel of technology. We are now in the age of the smart lamp. The classic orange glow is being replaced by energy-efficient LED technology, which not only saves immense amounts of power but also provides a clearer, more natural-looking light. But the real magic is inside. Many modern lamps are equipped with an array of sensors. They can detect motion, dimming to a low-power state when no one is around, and instantly brightening to full power when a pedestrian or car approaches. This saves energy while ensuring safety is never compromised. They can communicate wirelessly, forming a network across the city. They can automatically report when a bulb has failed, eliminating the need for resident complaints or routine patrols. This means quicker repairs and more reliable lighting for everyone. The capabilities go even further. Some smart lamps are being equipped with sensors to monitor air quality, traffic flow, and even noise levels, providing valuable data for city planners. They can have public Wi-Fi hotspots built into them, or even serve as charging stations for electric vehicles. The humble street lamp is evolving from a simple light source into a multifunctional hub for the smart city of the future. It's becoming the central nervous system of the urban environment. From a simple candle in a box to a networked, intelligent device, the street lamp has had an incredible journey. It has been a silent witness to history, lighting the way for horse-drawn carriages and electric cars, for lamplighters and for us. It has transformed our relationship with the night, turning it from a time of fear into a time of opportunity, community, and life. Yet, for all its technological advancement, its core purpose remains beautifully simple and unchanged: to guide, to comfort, and to illuminate our way home. So the next time you're out for an evening stroll, take a moment to look up and appreciate that steady glow. It's more than just light. It's a symbol of safety, of progress, and of the enduring human desire to push back the darkness and fill our world with light. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the street lamp. If you found this illuminating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the hidden technologies that shape our world. See you in the next one. Have you ever walked down a city street at night, bathed in that familiar, gentle glow from above, and wondered where it all came from? It seems so simple, so mundane, yet the story of the street lamp is the story of civilization itself. It's a tale of how we conquered the night, transformed our cities, and forever changed the way we live, work, and connect with one another. Before the street lamp, the night was a different world. For most of human history, when the sun went down, life ground to a halt. Cities became dark, dangerous labyrinths. The darkness didn't just bring a fear of the unknown. It brought real, tangible dangers. Crime thrived in the shadows. A simple walk home could be a perilous journey. The night belonged to those with ill intentions, and for everyone else, the safest place to be was behind a locked door, with a candle flickering as their only companion. Social life, commerce, and community were all held captive by the setting sun. The rhythm of life was dictated not by our desires, but by the celestial clock. That is, until a simple yet revolutionary idea began to take hold. What if we could light up the night? Our journey begins in the flickering age of oil. Imagine the year is 1417 in London. The mayor, Sir Henry Barton, issues a decree. Residents must hang lanterns outside their homes during the winter months. This wasn't about aesthetics. It was a desperate measure for public safety. These early streetlights were simple oil lamps, a vessel, a wick, and some whale oil or vegetable oil. They were smoky, smelly, and offered only a small pool of wavering light. A new profession was born, the lamplighter. Every evening at dusk, these dedicated individuals would trudge through the streets, carrying a ladder and a torch. They would meticulously trim the wicks, refill the oil, and light each lamp one by one. Then at dawn they'd return to extinguish them. It was a thankless, arduous job. The light was inconsistent, easily extinguished by wind or rain, and the coverage was patchy at best. But for the first time, pockets of reliable light began to push back against the oppressive darkness. It was a small victory, but it was a start. Paris followed suit, establishing the world's first large-scale, centrally managed street lighting system in the 17th century under King Louis XIV, the Sun King, who sought to extend his brilliance into the night. These early efforts, though primitive, planted a crucial seed. The idea that the night could be tamed, that our streets could be made safe for everyone. The 19th century brought the Industrial Revolution, and with it, a new, more powerful fuel, gas. The invention of gas lighting was a game-changer. William Murdoch, a Scottish engineer, was a pioneer in this field. In the 1790s, he figured out how to distill coal gas and pipe it to light his own home. This idea quickly scaled up. In 1807, Pall Mall in London became the first street in the world to be permanently lit by gaslight. The effect was astonishing. Compared to the dim, sputtering oil lamps, gaslight was bright, steady, and almost magical to the people of the time. Cities across Europe and America rushed to install networks of gas mains and ornate, cast-iron lampposts, many of which are still cherished heritage items today. The era of the gaslight truly began. The lamplighter's job evolved. They now carried a long pole with a small flame or pilot light at the end, walking their routes to turn the valve on each lamp and ignite the gas. The glow was warmer, more golden than the electric light we know today. It transformed the urban landscape into a theatrical stage. Charles Dickens wrote vividly of London's gaslit streets, capturing both their beauty and their eerie, fog-shrouded mystery. Gaslight didn't just make streets safer. It fundamentally altered social life. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could now stay open late into the evening. A vibrant nightlife began to emerge. People were no longer confined to their homes after dark. The city became a 24-hour entity, bustling with activity and opportunity. But gaslight had its downsides. Gas leaks were a constant danger, leading to explosions and fires. The light produced soot and a rather unpleasant smell. The technology was brilliant for its time, but humanity's quest for a better, cleaner, and brighter light was far from over. Then came the spark of genius that would illuminate the modern world: electricity. The race to create a practical, long-lasting electric light was one of the great scientific dramas of the late 19th century. While many inventors contributed, it was Thomas Edison's development of a commercially viable incandescent light bulb in 1879 that truly set the stage for a revolution. Just a few years later, in 1882, his company switched on the first commercial power station on Pearl Street in New York City, electrifying a small section of Lower Manhattan. The effect was instantaneous and profound. Electric light was brighter, cleaner, and far safer than gas. There was no open flame, no smell, no soot. It could be turned on and off with the simple flick of a switch. This was not just an improvement. It was a quantum leap. Cities began the massive undertaking of replacing their gas networks with electrical grids. Towering moonlight towers were erected in some cities, attempting to illuminate entire blocks with powerful arc lamps, bathing the streets in a stark bluish-white glare. Over time, these were replaced by the more familiar individual lampposts we see today, each with its own incandescent and later, more efficient bulbs. The job of the lamplighter became obsolete, replaced by automated timers and centralized control systems. Electric streetlights solidified the 24/7 city. Factories could run night shifts, boosting industrial production. Police and fire departments could respond more effectively. The very design of our cities changed, with nightlife and commerce spreading into every corner. The fear of the dark, a primal human instinct that had shaped society for millennia, was finally and decisively conquered. From the smoky whale oil lamps of medieval London to the gas-lit boulevards of Victorian Paris, and onto the bright electric avenues of the modern metropolis, the street lamp has been a silent protagonist in our urban story. Its evolution mirrors our own technological and social progress. It's more than just a piece of infrastructure. It's a symbol of safety, community, and enlightenment in the most literal sense. It allowed commerce to flourish, culture to blossom after dark, and gave us the freedom to move through our cities at any hour. The next time you're out for an evening stroll, take a moment to look up at that steady, unassuming glow. That light is the culmination of centuries of ingenuity and aspiration. It has watched generations pass, seasons change, and our world transform in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. It asks for nothing, but it offers us everything: the safety of a well-lit path, the beauty of an illuminated city, and the simple, profound gift of light in the darkness. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the street lamp. If you found this story illuminating, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the history of the everyday things that shape our world. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next video.